Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are going to see, what if Bella and Esme secretly fell in love? So let's get started. BPOV. After the new year and school started again, everything fell into its normal routine. When I wasn't spending time with Carlisle or our family, I kept busy by studying and practicing my music. The incident at the Peterson Road Bridge was now a distant memory and did not affect me any longer. Because of this, Carlisle told me that I didn't need any more therapy sessions. I was both happy and sad about that. Happy because they weren't necessary anymore, but sad because they were fun and I was able to spend more time with him. Edward, Esme, and the others had decided to stay at the mansion. We were both glad that they did. We had missed them so much when they were in Alaska. I was allowed to spend the weekends there now, with Charlie's permission. I had the time of my life whenever I visited. Rosalie and I were now the best of friends, and spent a good deal of time catching up. The only thing that I didn't like about going there was that my sex life with Carlisle was not private. Alice and Emmett loved to tease me about it, especially if we had a particularly wild night. When Carlisle was working at the hospital, I would hang out with the others. However, whenever I spent time with Alice, Esme, or Rosalie, I felt inexplicably shy around them. It was mostly because of the fact that I liked the way they kissed me when we played Spin the Bottle on Christmas. I never told them how I felt, although I was quite certain that Alice knew at the very least. But if she did know, she didn't tell me that she did. How could I have explained it to them anyway, without humiliating myself? The only person that I talked to about it was Carlisle. He thought that I should have told them, but understood why I didn't. One Saturday morning, I was eating breakfast at Carlisle's when Alice rushed into the dining room. She looked very excited. "Bella, would you like to go shopping with me?" she inquired. "My favorite mall in Portland had a large shipment 2 days ago. You should have seen all of the new clothes that they posted online." I groaned. "I'm not really in the mood for it today, Alice. Besides, you had already bought me a half of a department store last November." "I don't need any more clothes," I pointed out. Alice was crestfallen. "Oh, come on, Bella. I really want to hang out with you. You've been studying too hard lately, and you deserve a break. Please, please, please say you'll come. Please," she begged, clasping her hands. Feeling dazzled, I gave a reluctant nod. "All right, I'll go. Now, can I eat my cereal in peace?" "Of course, and don't procrastinate while taking your shower either. I want to leave by 11, and it's almost 10 o'clock now." I guess that I don't have a choice but not to procrastinate then. No backtalk. I rolled my eyes at her. After I had finished eating, I took a quick shower and got dressed. I knew that if I took my time, Alice would come after me, which was not what I wanted. Soon, we were speeding down the highway in her new yellow Porsche. She chatted animatedly for the entire ride, with me joining in the conversation every now and then. When we arrived at the mall, Alice practically dragged me inside. "Damn, Alice, slow down. I'm going to fall if you don't," I declared. "I'm sorry," she remarked. We went up an escalator and into the store that she had told me about earlier. I could only watch as she grabbed a countless number of items off the racks. Within an hour, she had a very large pile heaped into a shopping cart. The cashier's eyes nearly fell out her head when she saw it. Alice purchased everything, then went to the waiting room to divide the pile in half. "We'll try them on in my bedroom. If you don't like something, I'll take it off of your hands, okay?" she queried. "Okay," I replied as if I cared. On the trip home, she rambled on about how much she loved her new clothes. I stayed quiet and nodded occasionally whenever she asked me or commented about something. Alice parked her car in the garage and led me up to her room. Just as we had crossed over the threshold, however, her cell phone rang. She answered it immediately. "Hi Jasper, I'll be there soon," she stated. Then she hung up and turned to me. "Sorry, Bella, but Jasper wants me to meet him at our house." I smiled and waved my hand. "That's fine. Go and enjoy yourself. I won't have a problem in looking over my clothes. I'll just put the ones that I don't like in your closet," I added. "That sounds reasonable. See you later, then. Bye, Alice." She was gone in a microsecond. I went to the bedroom I shared with Carlisle and dumped the contents of my bag onto the bed. I was astounded over the amount of clothes that even fit into the half pile that Alice had given to me. It would take the whole day for me to sort through all of them. Abruptly, there was a knock on the door, which jerked me out of my thoughts. "Come in," I proclaimed. I heard the door close and turned to see Esme standing next to me. "Hey," I grinned. "Hi Bella, what are you up to?" she questioned. Just looking through all of these clothes that Alice had bought for me. I swear, one day she's going to buy me an entire mall." I told her that I didn't need any more clothes, but of course, she didn't listen. Esme laughed gently. "Well, you know Alice. She can never have enough of them, and she doesn't expect any else to have enough of them either. Here, I'll help you, if you like." I sighed in relief. "Thanks, Esme. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't showed up." "Oh, you're welcome, my dear." We set to work, examining various types of shirts, skirts, dresses, pants, lingerie, boots, and shoes. I had to admit that I liked the ones that I had looked over very much. However, I didn't know when I would be able to wear them all. I was inspecting a black leather outfit when Esme sniffed, then leaned close to me and sniffed again. "Bella, is that Sweet Pea lotion and Moonlight Path perfume you're wearing?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes, I bought them a week ago," I replied. The combination of two smells wonderful on you. I wish more of the women I know had your good taste, or Alice's or Rosalie's." "You have good taste yourself." "I suppose so, but you should wear that lotion and perfume more often. I'm sure that Carlisle himself likes it." "Yeah, he does, but not as much as my strawberry scent." "I believe you." "Oh, this versus neck t-shirt and black skirt would go nicely with these black low-heeled boots. Why don't you try them on?" Okay." I took the clothes that she held out to me and headed for the bathroom. The t-shirt was a rich, dark red color which clung onto my form tightly. The skirt was 3 inches above my knee. The boots went halfway up my calves. Esme nodded in approval when she looked me over. "This looks sexy on you. Carlisle will adore your outfit. It's too bad that it's winter. If it weren't, you could wear it almost immediately. Who knows, perhaps I can next weekend, if I don't leave the house. Besides, a pair of leggings or stockings could be worn with the skirt." "That is very true. It wouldn't matter what you wear with it. Either way, you'll look good. The outfit complements your figure splendidly." I blinked, not expecting her to say something like that. Her tone was innocent of anything that would have disturbed me, though, so I grinned brightly. To be honest, I was flattered. "Thank you," I whispered. She waved her hand. "Don't mention it," she smiled. In no time at all, we had sorted through the clothes and put them in my closet. I was hanging up one last pair of jeans when I noticed that Esme was eyeing me fixedly and biting her lip, taking me in from head to toe. With a jolt, I realized that I still had the red versus neck t-shirt and black skirt on. I returned to the bathroom and changed back into the sweater and jeans that I had been wearing. When I re-entered the bedroom, I saw Esme leaning against the closet door. After putting away the t-shirt and skirt, I smiled at her. "Was there anything that you liked? One of the dresses, perhaps?" I inquired. She peered into the closet. "Well, I do like the casual white silk dress over here, but I'm not certain if it will fit me," she mumbled. "Well, try it on. If it does fit, then you can keep it. I don't think that I will need it or most of these clothes anyway." "Are you sure? Don't you want it? It's a very pretty dress." "Yes, I'm sure, but even if I want it back, you can still keep it. I'll just buy another one." "Okay, do you mind if I use your bathroom for a second?" "No, of course not. You're more than welcome to." Esme ghosted into the aforementioned room and came back out 5 seconds later. She looked remarkable. Even though the dress fit her, she said that it was still tight on her. This was true. I could see every curve of her slender figure. Her calves stood out, and the tops of her large breasts were hitched upwards into a nice, prominent cleavage. "Hold on, was I checking her out?" She frowned at me in bewilderment. "What's the matter? Is there something wrong with the dress? Do I look terrible?" she queried. I shook my head. "Not at all. You look amazing. I'm sure that Edward will like it too," I commented. Esme grinned. "Thank you, Bella." After she had changed out of the dress, she prepared to leave the room. "Thank you for letting me have this, Bella." "You're welcome, Esme, and thanks again for helping me out. I really do appreciate it." "No problem." When Esme was gone, I put my face in my hands. Carlisle was right. The spin the bottle game had gotten to my head. This was bad, very bad, but I knew that Carlisle wouldn't have cared if he found out about this. Nevertheless, if Edward did, I would likely be in major trouble. I knew that he couldn't see my thoughts, but he would probably find out via Esme's, Alice's, or Carlisle's if I told him. I couldn't let that happen. I would just have to keep away from Esme often for the time being. Perhaps that will prevent something like this from ever happening again. Esme's pav. I sped out of Carlisle's room as quickly as possible, fraught with dismay. Bella had noticed. She noticed that I had stared at her. Luckily, she had thought that I was looking at her because I was wondering why she had left that versus neck t-shirt and black skirt on. That was not the case, however. I had been lining up her new shoes, and had turned around to say something to her, when I came face to face with her legs. She was standing on the tips of her toes to hang up a blouse. I glanced upwards to see her cute, little bottom peeking out from under her skirt. Her chest was bulging against her shirt like melons would in a thin plastic bag. Her calf muscles, which were half hidden, popped out from her boots like big, round oranges. Before I could analyze her any further, Bella peered at me, then noticed that she had forgotten to take off her outfit. When she left to change her clothes, my jaw dropped in horror. Did I just check out a woman? Oh no, I was so screwed. This was so wrong. What was I going to do? I needed to block my thoughts. I couldn't let Edward know about this. I was quite certain that he would disapprove of it for sure if he saw what had happened through my mind. I would also need to steer clear of Bella as much as possible. Being in her company too much would not help matters. Carlisle's pav. When I was spending time with Isabella that evening, I noticed that she was a little more withdrawn than usual. She was very quiet, and seemed to be deep in thought about something. "Sweetheart, you have barely spoken to me since I came home. Is something the matter?" I queried in concern. She started. She had obviously not been paying attention. "What? No, I've just been very absent-minded today," she mumbled vaguely. I took her chin in my hand and made her look at me. "Are you sure?" Isabella nodded. Yes. Her eyes did not betray anything suspicious. Her answer was truthful enough, but I could tell that something was nagging her. However, I decided not to point this out and put pressure on her. I knew that she would tell me when she was ready. That was what I loved about her. She would always tell me what was bothering her, even if she didn't do so immediately. "All right," I whispered, kissing her forehead. "But you know that if you want to talk to me, I am always here to listen." "I know," she murmured, giving me a tiny smile. I rubbed her back. "So, what would you like for me to cook for you this evening? Have you eaten dinner yet, or were you too busy wandering around in La La Land?" Chuckling at my joke, Isabella replied, "No, I didn't eat anything. I guess that I was deep into La La Land. I don't want anything special, but may I have some of the lamb chops that you bought? And the buttered noodles and mixed vegetables?" "Of course, you may, beloved. You know that I would give you anything that you wanted." She rolled her eyes. "Like hell, you would," she scoffed. Edward's pav. It was extremely annoying. Ever since I had returned from my hunt, Esme had been blocking me from her thoughts on and off. I knew that something was wrong because she rarely did that after we found out that we were soulmates. When we were alone, I laid my hand on her back. "Esme, what are you hiding from me?" I inquired, going straight to the point. She blinked. "Hiding from you?" I nodded. "Yes, you know that you never have to hide anything from me." "I know that." I stared at her for a moment. "Well," I drew out the word when she did not say or think something to me. Esme took a deep breath. "It's nothing crucial, Edward. But it is a matter that I would like to keep to myself." I narrowed my eyes at her, but not in a menacing way. "It must be crucial if you're preventing me from seeing it. You haven't broken anything of mine, have you?" She huffed. "If I did, I would have told you right away. Can we please not talk about this? I'm not in the mood to." Taken aback by her curtness, I decided to leave the situation to itself. "Fine, but when you're ready to tell me about it, let me know." "I will." Bella's pav. For the rest of the following week, I avoided Esme as often as possible without making it look strange to everyone else. This turned out to be incredibly simple. For reasons unknown to me, she stayed away from me as well. If we chanced to be in one another's presence, we didn't speak to each other half of the time. And when we did, our conversations were short and ended so abruptly that they almost sounded rude. To make matters worse, there were times when I could barely stop gazing at her if she was around. I did it when she wasn't looking, peeking at her through the strands of my hair. I couldn't help myself, and there were times that I felt so guilty that Jasper asked me more than once if everything was okay. "I'm fine, Jasper," I assured him. It was in the beginning of the next week that it became clear that I was starting to feel attracted to her. Not like in the way I had become attracted to Carlisle before we officially got together, of course. I wasn't saying that she didn't have a good personality, but I wasn't drawn to her in the way that I would be if she were my mate. In addition to her, I caught myself staring at Alice and Rosalie too, finding them just as captivating as Esme. And without knowing why, there were times where I wanted to jump on all of them and kiss their pretty lips. Great, not only had I realized that I was bisexual, which to me wasn't a horrible thing. I didn't care if I was. I accepted it without question, and so did Carlisle when I told him, but I had a crush on every single woman in the house. As a result, I felt timid around them, and refrained from them whenever I could help it. If Alice or Rosalie said something to me, or asked me a question, I blushed and stammered. I never told Carlisle about any of this, not because I believed that he would disapprove of it. I knew he wouldn't have minded, but because I felt too embarrassed to. "Are ya sure that everything is all right, Bella?" Jasper queried that Tuesday. "Yes, I'm sure. Don't worry about me," I remarked, smiling a little. I knew that Alice probably found out that I was bisexual at the same moment that I did, but at least she still wanted to hang out with me. I didn't know if she had told Rosalie, but if she had, I would never have guessed. She still liked to spend time with me too. Perhaps they or Alice, at the very least, didn't care that I was into them or women in general. And I gladly let them hang out with me. I was relieved that they didn't shun me. I had to prevent myself from staring at them when I was in their presence, though, or they would wonder if something was wrong. However, Esme continued to stay away from me most of the time. I didn't worry about this until the middle of the next week. What was her problem? Had Alice told her that I was bisexual, and was now too uncomfortable to be near me? Or was she mad at me about something? I understood why I was avoiding her, but I didn't know why she refused to be around me. I decided to talk to Edward. He knew her better than anyone else, plus he could read her mind. I didn't think that it would be a good idea to speak to Esme if she was planning to keep away from me. Thursday, while Esme was out on a hunt with Alice, Rosalie, and Emmett, I took my chance. I went upstairs to the third floor and knocked on Edward and Esme's bedroom door. "You may enter," he declared from the other side. I opened the door and stepped inside the room. Edward was relaxing on his couch, reading a magazine, but looked up as I strolled in. "Oh, hi Bella, to what do I owe the pleasure? How are you today?" he inquired with a grin. I perched on the armrest. "I'm good, how are you?" I returned. "I am fine. So, what can I do for you?" "Nothing, I just needed to ask you a question." "Oh, all right, go ahead and ask it." Biting my lip apprehensively, I queried, "Is Esme angry with me?" "For the past 3 weeks, she's been avoiding me." Edward shook his head. "No," he replied slowly. "I don't think so, but if she is, she hasn't told me, and I haven't seen it in her mind." "You'll have to ask her." I nodded. "Okay," I sighed, getting up. "Thank you." "You're welcome, Bella." Then I left the room. I wanted to talk to Esme privately, but unfortunately, she never seemed to be alone when I was around. She was usually with Edward, Alice, or Rosalie. Luckily, on Saturday, Edward, Emmett, and Jasper went hunting. Carlisle had to work, of course, and Alice and Rosalie had gone to the movies. Esme chose to stay at the house with me. That was good. I was beginning to think that I would never be able to speak to her. Because I didn't want to make her feel uneasy, I decided not to ask her anything until the middle of the afternoon. I searched for her and located her in the family room watching television. She turned as I walked over to her and stood. I held up my hand. "You don't have to get up. I just wanted to ask you something. Is that okay, or do you want me to leave you alone?" I questioned. Esme's paw. I shifted with unease. I knew that Bella was going to confront me about avoiding her for the last 3 weeks. Truthfully, I couldn't blame her for doing so. Nonetheless, I dreaded answering her question. How could I tell her that the reason why I kept away from her was to prevent myself from gazing at her too much? I only did it when I was certain that she wasn't paying attention to me. There was something about her that just made me want to stare at her for minutes at a time. She was just so alluring that, for inexplicable reasons, I wanted to kiss her. I had to block my mind whenever I thought of this, and thankfully, Edward didn't find out about it yet. Bella cocked her head to the side in puzzlement. I realized that I had not answered her for a long time. "I'm sorry, Bella, of course you may ask me a question. You know that you may ask me anything," I stated. She pursed her lips, her eyes narrowing as if she were considering something. "Esme, are you angry with me?" she inquired in a low voice. I blinked in surprise, not expecting her to ask me this. "No, my dear, why would I be angry with you? You haven't done anything that would have upset me." "Oh, I thought that you were because you have been avoiding me. You barely even talk to me. If you're not angry with me, then why have you been doing this? Is it something else to do with me? So, there it was. I opened my mouth, but was incapable of giving her a response. At least, a response that wouldn't frighten or terrify her. Suddenly, I couldn't face her. I dashed away from her, too conflicted with inner turmoil to be in her presence any longer, and headed for my bedroom. I could not understand why I was so oddly drawn to Bella. I did not feel for her as I did for Edward. However, this was obvious after all, he was my mate. Nevertheless, I found her very captivating. I noticed that I enjoyed her company no matter how briefly I was in it as of late more than I would have liked. Then again, who wouldn't enjoy it? Once you broke through her shell, Bella proved to be a kind, intelligent, loyal, and friendly person. She could certainly hold a good conversation. But there were other qualities that startlingly beckoned me to her. I hated to admit it to myself, but Bella was rather pretty. She had beautiful eyes and hair and smooth, red lips. Smooth, where was this coming from? Was this some after effect from that spin the bottle game? And an after effect of the day when I checked her out in her closet? Had I become attracted to her? Oh geez, here we go. Now what was I going to do? I definitely couldn't tell Edward about this. He would, on no uncertain terms, throw cold water on the very idea of it. It was best to ignore how I felt about Bella and do nothing. Just as I had come to this conclusion, I heard Edward's footsteps approaching. I quickly thought of something else so that he couldn't read my mind. However, bits and snatches of my previous inner monologue drifted across it. "Esme, can I talk to you?" Edward queried as he entered the room. I was doomed. "Certainly, Edward," I replied. He sat down on the bed and patted his lap. When I had made myself as comfortable as I possibly could, I turned to him. Stroking my hair, Edward sighed. "Would you mind explaining to me what I had just saw?" I fidgeted and bowed my head in shame. "You're disappointed with me, aren't you?" To my amazement, he said, no only shocked, but not in a bad way. "You can tell me about it. I promise not to explode." "Well," I murmured, trying to find the right words to explain everything. I was unable to, so instead of telling him, I showed him. Edward grunted once he had absorbed all of the things he wanted to know. "Is this what you have been keeping from me?" I peered at my hands. "Yes, and I honestly apologize, sweetie. I know that you must be furious. What do you want me to do? What do you think I should do?" I questioned in a tiny voice. He kissed me on the lips. "I am not furious at all. But why did you not tell me about this?" I gazed into his eyes and saw that he was being truthful. "Because I felt that you would be angry with me." "Well, I'm not. It isn't as if you were attracted to another man." He laughed gently. You don't mind that I am attracted to Bella?" I was even more astonished. "Not one bit. I know that you feel differently for her than you do for me." I was speechless. "So, what do you think I should do?" I asked finally. Edward thought about it for a second. "I think that you should talk to Bella and Carlisle." "Well, speak to Carlisle first, and see what he thinks of it. However, I wouldn't be nervous if I were you. I know that he wouldn't mind, in any case. Did you know that Bella is bisexual?" I shook my head, my eyes widening. "No, I didn't." "Wow." He smirked. "Yes, but after speaking to Carlisle, make sure that you talk to her. It's Bella's reaction that you'll have to be concerned about, but perhaps not too concerned. How do you think she feels about you?" "I don't know, but Bella seems shy whenever I am in her presence nowadays. But I noticed that she's like that around Alice and Rosalie too." "Then I suppose that it won't be too difficult for you to let her know how you feel about her." Edward kissed me again and smiled brightly. "When Carlisle comes back from work, maybe you can speak with him." I agreed. Yes, it would be better to deal with him first. After all, Bella is his mate. We have to be considerate about how he would feel most of all. Time skipped to 7:15. When I heard Carlisle's Mercedes racing up the driveway, I couldn't help but feel anxious. Edward caressed my cheek. "It will be fine," he whispered. I nodded, but didn't say anything. Soon, Carlisle walked into the house and headed for his office. I waited until I knew that he had put his things away and had some time to himself. It was an hour before Edward gave me the okay. "Best of luck, baby," Edward stated as I left the room. "Thanks, sweetie," I mumbled with a faint grin. Carlisle's paw. I was filling out the last sheet of my paperwork when there was a knock on my door. Esme's scent drifted through the air. "Come in," I proclaimed. I glanced up as she stepped inside the room. "Hello, Esme. How are you?" I inquired. She lowered herself onto the love seat that was next to Bella's desk. I'm fine, Carlyle. What about you? She returned. Oh, I am perfectly well. Is something the matter? Do you need anything? Yes, I need to have a word with you, if that's all right. Of course it's all right. I laid my finished paperwork aside and turned to her. I'm all ears. Esme nodded and clenched her hands in her lap. Well, she began. Edward already knows about what I am going to tell you. It was not easy to explain it to him, and it's just as difficult for me to sit here and do likewise. There is not a simple way for me to say this, so I'll just say it. She paused to see if I understood. I motioned for her to continue. By all means, please do so, I requested. Esme took a deep breath. Okay, well I've realized that I am attracted to Bella. I have been for a few weeks. I gaped at her, but I was not as surprised as I would have been. Ah, so, this was why Esme had been keeping away from her. And when she was around Isabella, her posture was stiff, as if she were trying to ward something off. Isabella, too, behaved peculiarly if Esme happened to be nearby. Normally, it was easy for Isabella to have a conversation her. For the past 3 weeks though, I had noticed that awkward, tense silences would follow after Isabella said something to her or vice versa. There was an extremely high possibility that she was attracted to Esme as well. I smiled at her. I am grateful that you had chosen to tell me this. I know that you must think that I'm upset about this, but I'm not. As I told Isabella on Christmas, I wouldn't care if she was into women, and I don't. She had told me that she was 2 weeks ago. But how does Edward feel about this? I questioned. I didn't want him to be angry with her. He feels the same way that you do, Esme responded, looking relieved. I see. Have you spoken to Isabella? She shook her head. No, not yet. I raised an eyebrow. Why? She should have been the first person to know after Edward. We thought that it would be better to run it by you first. I did try to talk to Bella about this earlier, when she asked why I was avoiding her, but I couldn't. I was afraid that she would be disgusted with me. If I had known that she was bisexual, it would have been easier to tell her. That is understandable, and it is very considerate of both of you and Edward to think of speaking to me first. Nevertheless, if you had told me this after telling Isabella first, my reaction would have been the same as it is now. But speak to Isabella. She is the secondary object of your affections. If she feels the same way for you, then I won't stop you two from doing anything that I would deem inappropriate, so to speak, if you chose to do so. But if she doesn't, then you will have no choice except for not to bother her. Esme nodded. I understand, Carlyle. Thank you. I waved my hand dismissively. There's no need to thank me. Just be mindful. Don't worry, you know that I will. She was just about to leave when I thought of something. Oh, and Esme, I began. Esme turned. Yes? She queried. If you two ever do form a relationship, be careful, I admonished. Why? I smirked. Isabella's a tease, especially when she's bored. We shared a laugh. On the other side of the mansion, I heard Edward chortling as well. Esme pursed her lips. Carlyle? Edward? Can you leave and tell the others not to come back for a while? I want to speak to Bella in private. I bobbed my head. Sure, Esme, just let me tell Isabella that I'll see her later, and I'll go for a hunt and leave you to it. I need to hunt anyway. See you later, and good luck. Thank you. Bye. Bella's paw. I had just said goodbye to Carlyle. He was going hunting and was almost done cooking my dinner when I heard a knock behind me. I turned to see Esme standing next to the island. Suddenly, I felt tense. Perhaps I shouldn't have asked her what I did earlier. It only proved that there was a reason why she kept away from me, when she left the room without answering my question. Maybe she came back to do so, though. But why did she run away? Had I asked her my questions the wrong way? Did I do something to her that she didn't want to tell me about, and she was too frightened to say what it was? Hey, I muttered. Hi Bella, are you busy with your cooking? There is something important that I need to speak to you about, she remarked. I grinned a little. No, I'm nearly finished, but my dinner can wait. Esme pursed her lips. Okay, then, may we talk in the living room again? Sure. She led me into the aforementioned room and gestured to the sofa. Please sit down. I plopped down onto it tentatively. Esme settled herself onto the other side of the couch. As I waited for her to speak, I noticed that she was fidgeting, and her posture was rigid. What's wrong, Esme? Why are you so nervous? I inquired. Nothing's wrong. It's just that I'm not sure how you'll react to what I am going to tell you. Just tell me. You know that you can tell me anything. She took a moment to prepare herself. Do you remember when we played Spin the Bottle on Christmas? I inclined my head and chuckled. I don't think that I'll ever forget it. Why? Esme hunched her shoulders. Well, I like the way that you kissed me, and I have been attracted to you for the past few weeks. This was why I stayed away from you so much, and why I didn't answer your question this afternoon. I thought that if I had came on to you or told you, it would disgust you. But it's just attraction, nothing more, she confessed with embarrassment. I drew back in shock. I had no idea that she felt the same way for me as I did for her. So, this was why she had been acting so strangely around me and avoiding me. This was the answer to all of my questions. I reached out and took her hand. I'm not disgusted. To be honest, I like the way that you kissed me too, and I am also attracted to you. But I didn't say anything about it because I thought that it would repulse you, I stated. Esme nodded in understanding. I see, but you could have, you know. I'm sorry that I didn't. What made you want to tell me that? Edward saw how I felt about you when he read my thoughts earlier and asked me about it. I told him the truth. He understood and is okay with it, and suggested that I speak you in Carlisle, but to talk to him first. When I did, Carlisle told me to speak to you. He understands how I feel about you also, but I know that I don't need to tell you that he's fine with it. I laughed loudly. Well, of course not. I'm surprised that Edward doesn't mind, though. As am I, but then, Edward is very level-headed on certain subjects. For a couple of moments, it was quiet. Then Esme squeezed my hand. Bella? She murmured. I looked up at her. Yes, Esme? I asked. She bit her lip. I want to kiss you. May I? I was caught off guard by this question. Yeah, sure, I have actually been wanting to kiss you for the past 2 weeks. Really? So have I. She gazed at me longingly for a few seconds. I quirked an eyebrow. Well, I drew out the word. Esme started. Oh, were you waiting for me to do so? She chuckled. I snickered. Of course. Why do you think I'm just sitting here? She moved over to sit next to me and brushed my hair away from my face. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting. Beautiful, she whispered. And then she placed her lips on mine. It was a passionate kiss. It was not like kissing Carlisle, though. When he and I kissed, electricity raced through my veins. Still, it was a wonderful, heated kiss. I laid my hands on her shoulders and kissed her back. Your lips are so warm, Bella, Esme breathed before pressing her own onto mine again. I smiled against hers and held her close. A minute later, she backed away to let me get some air. I took several deep breaths. So, what should we do, now that we know that we are attracted to each other? Esme sighed. I don't know, but Carlisle said that if you were attracted to me as I am to you, then he wouldn't stop us from doing anything inappropriate. He wouldn't mind if we started a relationship either. I nodded pensively, taking this all in. Is that what you want to do? I wouldn't mind if you do, but I would understand if you don't. Truthfully, I would like it if we had one, but it can't be like how it is with Carlisle or Edward. We can't go public, and I can't tell Charlie. We can't spend too much time together, either. We wouldn't want to keep each other from our mates for too long, I pointed out, joking a bit. No, we don't, she agreed. She thought about this for a while. Well, I suppose that I would like to have one with you, even with our limits. Of course, we have to have them, but I don't mind it. It would be better for us anyway if only the family knew. Yes, I know. Esme kissed me on the lips. So friends with benefits? She questioned. I bobbed my head and kissed her back. Sounds good to me, I grinned. Bella's pav. Later that evening, when Carlisle and Edward returned to the house, Esme and I decided to inform them about what we had agreed on. Thankfully, the others hadn't returned with them, so this would be easy to do without anyone except Alice knowing our business and eavesdropping. Carlisle and Edward met us in the family room when Esme thought to Edward that we wanted to talk to them. I joined Carlisle on the love seat while Edward sat next to Esme on the couch. Hi there, beloved, Carlisle whispered, kissing me on the cheek. Hey, I grinned, did you have a nice hunt? Oh, yes. I watched as Edward and Esme exchanged greetings before turning to us. So, Edward began. What did you two have to speak to us about? Esme glanced at me and bobbed her head, indicating for me to tell them. I leaned forward. Well, as you know, Esme and I had a little chat earlier. Ah, so you did. How did it go? Carlisle queried with genuine interest. Esme smiled, and so did I. It went pretty good, better than I had anticipated, actually, she stated matter-of-factly. Edward paused. And have you two decided on anything or no? I was surprised that he didn't try to find out through Esme's thoughts. Yes, we did, I replied. Carlyle nodded slowly. And, what is your decision? Esme, I announced, giving her a significant look before standing up. Beaming in recognition, she did likewise and met me in the center of the room. I wrapped my arms around her waist, pulled her into me, and kissed her deeply. Esme held me close and kissed me back. This was something we had planned to do ahead of time, before Carlyle and Edward arrived. We moved apart seconds later and turned to our mates. They were staring at us with admiration and rapture in their eyes. I almost laughed. Esme and I had decided that it would be preferable to have a friends with benefits relationship. That is, if it's okay with the both of you. We won't do it if you don't want us to, I noted. Of course it's fine with me, but you know that, Carlyle remarked. Gazing at Edward questioningly, Esme asked, Baby, what about you? He smirked. It's all right with me as well. If that is what you want, then I support the both of you. So do I, Carlyle added. I was barely able to stop myself from grinning as I embraced and kissed him with fervor. Thus began my relationship with Esme. As agreed, we only spent a short amount of time with each other, about an hour or two every day. We didn't do anything for the first few days except talk and make out. The latter of which was done in one of the spare bedrooms. We never did so in front of anyone in the family, except for Carlyle and/or Edward if they happened to be nearby. Which was almost all of the time. It started off with some hesitancy, but Esme and I soon grew more comfortable with one another. Everybody else in our family took to the relationship very well. It bothered them just as much as it did Carlyle and Edward. What's it like to be with another woman? Rosalie questioned one morning. I couldn't think of a response right away. I hadn't really thought about it. Then I came to the conclusion that it was certainly new, having never dated a woman before, but it was almost similar to being with a man. The only differences were, obviously, that Esme had longer hair, tits, a pussy, and was feminine. Neither of us was the butch in our relationship. It wasn't necessary for either of us to be. That was what we had our mates for. It was just as well that no one else in Forks save Charlie, who thankfully never mentioned it to anyone, knew that Carlyle's family were staying here for an indefinite amount of time. However, Esme didn't go out. Alice and Rosalie did, but not very often. Neither did Edward, Emmett, or Jasper. This was to keep them from drawing too much attention. Esme was supposed to be in Alaska, and Edward was supposed to be with her, except for occasional visits. Alice, Jasper, Emmett, and Rosalie were presumably occupied with college. Charlie must have noticed that something was different about me because he brought it up the following Wednesday. Have you been doing okay, Bella? He inquired. I blinked in confusion. Yeah, why? I asked. Oh, I don't know. It just seems like a change has come over you, he stated. I shrugged. I guess it's because I've been happier lately. Charlie reflected on that. You may be right. And what's the cause of all of this happiness? You and Carlyle aren't, well, getting physical with each other, are you? He winced. No, it's nothing like that. I'm just happy that the family is back. I missed them a lot. He searched my expression to see if I was lying, and of course, I wasn't. Partly. Charlie grunted, believing that I was being entirely truthful. 2 days later, on Friday evening, Esme and I were taking a stroll outside of the mansion. It was freezing, and although I was bundled up nicely, my nose and ears were growing numb. Vampires were so lucky, they never had to worry about feeling too hot or too cold. I couldn't wait to be one so that I wouldn't have to either. Esme wrapped an arm around my shoulders. Are you cold, sweetie? Do you want to go inside? She queried in concern. Just a little, but I'm fine, I assured her. Besides, it looks marvelous out here, with the snow on the trees. Yes, it is marvelous. But I only asked because I don't want you to catch a cold. Carlyle would be upset if he thought that I made you ill. I don't believe that he'd think that you would. I'm okay. If I get too cold, we can go in the house. We walked on in silence. A question suddenly came to mind a few minutes later. Esme? I whispered. She turned to me. Yes, Bella? She murmured. How did you become attracted to me? Esme did not answer me right then. She looked towards the forest, considering whether to answer my question or not. After a moment, she fixed her stare on me. I must confess something to you, Bella. On the day when I helped you sort through your new clothes, I looked at you several seconds longer than I would have as you were hanging up a blouse. That was how, besides when you kissed me during the spin the bottle game, of course, she admitted. A grin slowly spread across my face. You too, huh? I chortled. What do you mean? That was when I became attracted to you too. When you were trying on that white dress, I thought that you looked remarkable. But how did you get attracted to me? I know that I have a good personality. So do you, but I'm not anything to look at compared to you. I'm not as gorgeous as you are. As I said this, I took in the white fur coat that she was wearing that made her golden brown hair stand out. Esme scowled at me with disbelief. That's not true at all. You're just as beautiful as I am, if not more. Don't you believe that you are? I made a face. I always thought that I looked plain, except for when I get dressed up for a date. Carlisle doesn't think that I look plain at all, however, but I'm glad that he doesn't. Well, why would he think that you were? He's right to think that you are beautiful because you are. Very much. My cheeks felt warm despite the icy wind. Thank you, Esme. She patted my arm. You're welcome, honey. Sometimes you have to believe in your own beauty for you to see it. The corners of my mouth twitched. That sounds like something that Carlisle would say. Oh, he did say it to me once, long before you even existed. But I'm sure that he would tell you the same thing, if you told him that you believed that you looked plain. Huh, I'm sure that that's true. As am I, and I'm pleased that you think I'm gorgeous. I think that most vampires are stunning. Esme quirked an eyebrow and chuckled. Most? Which vampire do you know doesn't? James Victoria's mate. He just looked normal and evil, if that makes sense. I see what you mean, and I think that you're right about that. Then again, I would think so. No one could ever look as spectacular as our soulmates, now could they? We shared a hearty laugh. Esme pulled me into her. I really like you, Bella. And I like spending whatever time I can with you, she mumbled. I smiled appreciatively. So do I, Esme, I remarked. She pushed me onto the wall, laid her other hand on my waist, and kissed me. I took her face in my palms and moved my lips in sync with hers. A minute later, she backed away and peered closely at me. My goodness, Bella, your nose is as red as a tomato, she observed, clucking her tongue. Let's get you in the house, and I'll fix you a mug of hot chocolate. Thanks, it's nothing, my dear. We went in the house and up to the kitchen. I sat down on the island while Esme filled the teapot with water. Is there anything you like with your cocoa? She asked, putting on the lid and setting the teapot on the stove. Cream and sugar. I like it with chocolate whipped cream too, I responded. You like yours very sweet. I wish that human food tasted good to me, she sighed. She perched on the spot next to me. But it doesn't matter. I know something that tastes sweeter. You mean someone. Too much information. Esme threw back her head and laughed. Oh, you. She kissed me on the cheek. How does Carlisle put up with you? Sometimes you are just downright vulgar. I snorted. You don't want to know. Besides, you haven't complained once about my vulgarity. I haven't, have I? I suppose I'd better start. I rolled my eyes and tried to keep from laughing. Pretty soon, my hot chocolate was ready. I sipped it carefully to prevent myself from burning my mouth. This tastes good, Esme. Thank you, I declared. No problem. I'm glad that you like it, she returned. I laid my head on her shoulder. You want to know what Carlisle told me the first time he made me hot chocolate? She kissed my forehead. Sure, what did he say? He said that he put cream and sugar in mine because I am sweeter than anything. Well, you are a sweet person, Bella. He's so lucky to have you. I reddened. Thanks, I get that a lot. Esme rubbed my arm. I'm certain that you do. But people only say it because it's true. You two are lucky to have each other. Kissing her on her shoulder blade, I murmured, and you are lucky to have Edward. I was afraid that you two wouldn't find your soulmates for a very long time. I was surprised when Carlisle told me that Edward was your mate. I'm surprised that neither of you knew it already. She was quiet for a bit, thinking about what I said. I can't blame you. You couldn't imagine how shocked I was to find out myself. I couldn't believe that we didn't know it for all of those years either. What was it like, when you first felt the pull, I mean? Esme shifted. I can't exactly describe it. When Edward was stepping into Tanya's house, I went to tell him that I was sorry about what happened again because I knew that he was still hurting somewhat. Then we looked into each other's eyes, and we couldn't stop. We stared at each other for what seemed like a long time before we practically dove onto each other and kissed, she replied. Wow, did you see fireworks too? I teased. Oh, hush, she giggled. I joined in with her laughter. What about you, Bella? How did the pull affect you for the first time? Esme inquired. Well, when I looked into Carlisle's eyes, I felt static tingling inside me. I stared at each other for almost 2 minutes. That's what Carlisle told me. It affected you just as strongly then. Yeah. After a while, I was finished with my drink. Thanks again for the hot cocoa, Esme. It tasted really delicious. She smiled. You're welcome, sweetie. I leaned upwards, kissed her on the lips, and put my cup in the sink. I'm going to check on Carlisle. I'll see you later. Esme nodded. All right, Bella. Carlisle's pav. I glanced up from my laptop as Isabella entered the bedroom. Hello there. Did you have fun with Esme? I queried with a grin. Yes, she responded, climbing onto the bed. We had a nice little stroll, even though it's cold as hell out there. Well, that's good. I'm thrilled that everything is working out between you two. She snuggled into my side. Me too. What are you doing? I wrapped an arm around her. Just looking over this new online medical journal. I guess that there's no need to tell you that it's very interesting. Isabella chortled. I guess not. For a long while, it was quiet except for the frequent tap-tap of my fingers on the scroll. When I had finished reading, I turned to find her dozing, but she was still awake. Beloved? I whispered. She jumped. Huh? She grunted. Was there something that you wanted us to do together? Or do you want to sleep? I'll stay here with you. I want to sleep, but I need to stay up. If I don't, I'll be awake all night. Isabella yawned, sat up, and wiped her eyes. Why do you ask? Is there something that you wanted to do? Not particularly. Are you hungry? She rubbed her stomach, maybe a little. I caressed her cheek. Would you like to go out for dinner? If not, that's fine. Perhaps we shouldn't. I know that you despise having to eat human food for my sake. Ah, you're cute when you care. Why, thank you. I'm pleased that you think so. Reaching out, I tangled my fingers in her hair and kissed her slowly. Then I smooched her nose. Well, I'll cook something for you, and then we can figure out what to do after you eat, I stated. Isabella placed her forehead on mine. That's a beautiful idea. Bella's pav. Skip to Saturday 11 a.m. Now place this hand right there and this one here perfect, Carlisle crooned. It was raining today, and there was not much to do, so he and I had decided to stay in our bedroom. We kept searching for ways to occupy ourselves when Carlisle came up with the idea of painting a portrait of me naked. It didn't sound like a bad idea, so I figured, what the hell? While getting undressed, Carlisle left the room to get his art supplies. He was back before I had even taken off my jeans. Once I was naked, he instructed me to lie down. Then he positioned me so that my left leg was bent. My left hand was perched on it, and my right hand was on my stomach. Then Carlisle set to work, telling me not to move too much. I started to get bored after 45 minutes, and began to finger my pussy and moan to distract him and mess with his mind. He grinned when he noticed what I was doing. If you don't stop that, I won't be able to concentrate, Isabella. Stop. I saw that I had stuck my tongue out at him when I thought that he wasn't paying attention. I heard that, and fuck you too. I bet that you can't wait. Please. Stop it. Why do you never listen? I know it's because you're naughty and disobedient. Damn it, Isabella. You're going to be punished if you don't stop with this nonsense. I will bring it on, just you wait and see. And you shall definitely get what's coming to you for calling me a bitch. You won't be scared, but you will be shaking when I'm through with you, he muttered. Cocky bastard. Fuck you, I hissed teasingly. What? Fuck you too, Carlisle retaliated good-naturedly. We were really getting deep into our playful little argument when there was a knock on the door. I quickly dove under the covers. Carlisle turned his head slightly towards the door. Who is it? He called. It's Esme. May I come in? I heard her ask. I nodded when Carlisle shot me a questioning gaze. Sure, he responded. Esme opened the door, holding a glass bowl filled with water. Hi Bella. Hi Carlisle. Alice saw that you needed more water. That is true. Thanks, Esme. You're welcome. Esme's pav. As I handed the bowl of water to Carlisle, I caught a glimpse of the picture that he was working on out of the corner of my eye. Bella's face stared back at me. Her own eyes were half open, and she was biting her cherry-red lips. Her hair was spread out of the pillow underneath her. Her pale, pink nipples looked as if they were hard. They seemed to be jutting out of her chest. I cleared my throat and backed away to keep myself from seeing anything else. I was thankful that I couldn't blush because I certainly would have been at that moment. Carlisle was eyeing me shrewdly, a smile hovering on the edges of his lips. What do you think of the portrait, Esme? I haven't finished it yet, but how does it look so far? He inquired innocently. Darn him, how did he know that I was looking? I swallowed thickly. It's nice, Carlisle, I mumbled. That was the understatement of the week. It wasn't nice, it was downright amazing. Suddenly Cookie, one of Bella's cats, entered the room and leapt onto the bed. She cuddled up beside her. I guess that some pussies like other pussies, Carlisle implied as a joke. The tension broke, and all of us chuckled loudly. Carlisle, you are something else, I laughed, punching him lightly on the arm. I'm pretty sure that he knows. I tell him that most of the time, Bella snickered. I bobbed my head at them before leaving the room. I had only walked a few paces when I heard Bella speak again. So, Carlisle, do you think that Esme likes the picture? She asked. For reasons unknown, I was very interested in his reply. Noticing that I had left the door slightly ajar, I peeked into the room. Bella had pushed the blanket that was covering her to the side. I saw now that she was painted exactly how she looked. Oh, she was so exquisite. Perhaps. She stared at it for a good minute without immediately looking away, Carlisle responded. Oh, she did she? Bella whispered, her face turning to a rather bright crimson. Yes, but I can't blame her. You are extremely sexy. How right was he? Bella picked up Cookie and set her on the floor. I didn't understand why until I saw Carlisle perching on the spot next to her. I would be astonished if she didn't even like it a tiny bit, he breathed, kissing her on the lips. Then he placed smooches down her neck and on her magnificent breasts. I found myself wanting to kiss them too. They looked as if they tasted so delicious. Bella whimpered. You should finish the portrait. Carlisle chuckled. I will. He kissed her stomach. Bella giggled and tried to squirm away from him. I mean now, we can do this later. Hovering over her, Carlisle whispered, but you wouldn't say no to a quickie, would you? Bella smiled and shook her head. Carlisle leaned back and undressed, then positioned himself between her legs. I saw him enter her, and for the life of me, I could not understand how he was able to fit inside her. He was so huge. Of course, Bella was his mate, so I knew that she was made for him. And she was. His meat stick thrusted deep into her without missing a beat. I bit my lip, wondering how deep her cavern really was. Maybe one day, I would just stick my fingers into it and find out. The idea of it turned me on, and at that second, I knew that I wanted her. I wanted to make her moan as loudly as Carlisle was making her moan. The only question was, how could I tell Bella so? How could I ask her? Esme? Edward hissed behind me, making me jump 2 feet in the air. I thought that he would be angry that I was watching Carlisle and Bella mainly Bella as they had sex, but he wasn't. Instead, he peered at me with an understanding look in his eyes. Come on. Edward reached out and lifted me into his arms. Soon, we were in our bedroom, fulfilling each other's needs. Bella's paw. Carlisle and the others went hunting that night, leaving me by myself. They would be gone for the whole evening and all day tomorrow. However, Esme would be back by mid-morning to keep me company until they returned. I hated to sleep in the room that Carlisle and I shared all alone. It just made missing him even worse. I went to bed early. The faster the next day came, the better. If I allowed myself to miss Carlisle more than was necessary, I would make myself ridiculous. Luckily, I fell asleep with no problem, due to a brief bit of exercise that I had earlier. The aroma of scrapple, eggs, and waffles woke me up the next morning. I sat up, stretched, and glanced at the clock. It was 9:54 a.m. After brushing my teeth, I went down to the kitchen to find Esme cooking. She was adjusting the knobs on the stove, but looked up as I entered the room. Good morning, sweetie, she beamed brightly. Hi Esme, I greeted, returning her smile. We kissed each other lingeringly before I sat down on the island. Esme was flipping over the scrapple. How are you today? Pretty good, so far. I don't know what will happen for the rest of the day, though. I know what you mean. Not long afterwards, my food was placed in front of me. This is delicious, Esme, I declared when I tasted everything. She grinned. Thank you. I tucked myself into the meal. While I was eating, I grew conscious of the fact that she was watching me. What, do I have something on my face? Esme blinked. No, I would have told you if there was. But you do look pretty when you eat. Oh, I murmured. My face felt as if it was blistering. Thanks. The silence that followed was rather tense. I hastily finished the rest of my meal and washed my plate and silverware. Then I proceeded to go back upstairs to take a shower. I was just about to get undressed when I felt a cold hand on my shoulder. Bella, did I make the situation awkward when I told you that? I'm sorry if I did, Esme added. You didn't. I just didn't expect you to say something like that. It surprised me a little. You're forgiven, I reassured. To prove my point, I kissed her gently. Esme slid her arms around my waist. Bella, there's something that I've been wanting to tell you since I've been away last night, she whispered. Oh, you have you? Well, why don't you tell me what it is? I inquired. I kissed her again, and was about to press her into me when she moved away. Esme cleared her throat. Bella, I want T to do more than kiss you, she stated in a low, hesitant voice. My eyes widened when I realized what she meant, and I was dazed and speechless. Esme's head drooped. I apologize. I was merely hinting that I was curious. I must confess that I had watched you in Carlisle last night, and it made me wonder what it would be like to be intimate with another woman. Mainly you, of course. But I shouldn't have said anything. I didn't intend to make you feel uncomfortable. I nodded in understanding, and after a moment, patted her arm. It's okay, Esme. I'm not uncomfortable, only caught off guard. I smiled a little. So, you really want to take it to the next level? She bobbed her head. Just to see what it's like, but we don't have to if you're not willing. Pursing my lips, I narrowed my eyes, deep in thought. I was actually interested in the idea of it myself. Very interested. Well, I guess it would be all right for just this once. But if one of us or neither of us likes it, we'll never do it again. Deal? Deal, Esme proclaimed. She kissed my forehead and prepared to leave the room. At the threshold, she turned around. When should we do it? Well, no one will be here until later tonight. We can do it after I take my shower. But where? I don't want to do it in here, I pointed out. There's the spare bedroom upstairs on the 4th floor that we use. We can do it there. Okay, good. She gave me another shy smile. And Bella wear something sexy? I had to laugh. Esme was adorable when she was timid. I'll see what I can find. I drummed my fingers on the wall. All right, I'm going to take that shower now. Meet me upstairs. Certainly. I'll see you soon. I washed unhurriedly, taking my time. After drying myself off, I put on some sweet pea lotion and Moonlight Path perfume because I knew that Esme loved it. Then I looked over a miniature pile of my second favorite. I know that's not a word. I made it up myself. Corsets. There was an aquamarine one with black edging and stripes that looked great, and it came with a matching thong. Next, I put on a black garter belt and a pair of black stockings. Then I headed to the 4th floor. In here, Bella, Esme called from the first room to my right. When I opened the door, I saw her sitting Indian style on a white blanketed bed. She was clad in a dark sapphire blue corset and black, thigh-high fishnet stockings. She looked hot. You're very sexy, she commented with an approving gleam in her eyes as she looked me over. I was just thinking the same thing about you, I remarked, eyeing her in fascination. I lowered myself onto the spot next to her stiffly. Rubbing my back, Esme said gently, we really don't have to do this, you know. I waved my hand. It's not that I don't want to because I really do. I'm just a bit nervous, that's all. I've never done this before. Which one of us will begin first? Me or you? I questioned. The both of us we can start by kissing to loosen ourselves up. After that, I suppose that I'll take the lead unless you want to? No, that's fine. You can if you want. I don't mind. All right, come sit over here. She gestured to a pillow that was propped up against the headboard. Once I had made myself comfortable, Esme crawled over to me. Kiss me, Bella, she murmured seductively, taking my face in her hands. Tangling my fingers in her hair, I leaned forward and kissed her before slipping my tongue in her mouth. She tasted like sweet peaches. Esme froze before doing the same. After a bit, she grew less tense, and her tongue danced along with mine. You taste so good, Esme, I breathed, sliding a hand down to shoulder. You taste better, she whispered. I kissed along the side of her jugular and around her collarbone. Esme moaned. I thought that I was taking the lead. I chuckled. Well, I decided that I was in charge. Laughing softly, she hissed, and you are mistaken. She pulled me until I was laying down on the bed, then yanked down the front of my corset. She stared at my tits in admiration. Oh, Bella, you have no idea of how long I desired to do this, she mumbled before taking one of my nipples in her mouth. I groaned as she sucked on it eagerly. Then she moved on to the other one. Minutes later, she pulled on my nipple with her teeth and let it out with a pop. I sat up slightly and kissed the top of her breasts. She moaned in surprise as I swirled my tongue around her rosy pink nipple. With my left hand, I rolled the other between my thumb and forefinger. She tasted so delicious. Esme tilted my head up after a while and bent over to kiss me deeply. She reached down and laid her hand on my garter belt with a questioning look in her eyes. When I nodded, she unclipped and removed it along with my thong. She gently pushed me back down and opened my legs. Her eyes darkened as she inhaled the scent of my arousal. Then she ran her tongue along my slit before circling it around my swollen nub. "Ooh, yes, that feels so good, baby," I whispered in pleasure, pushing her head into my pussy. Esme caressed my thighs and continued to lick my clit. My head fell back as I moaned and whimpered over and over. Abruptly the door opened. "Isabella," Carlyle began as he entered the room. Both Esme and I gasped. Carlyle froze in mid-stride, and we stared at each other for what seemed like days. Carlyle's golden eyes then receded to a pitch black as he mumbled something, and Edward appeared behind him a second later. Esme jumped up to shield me as I reached for my thong. Throwing up his hands, Carlyle pleaded, "Don't. Keep going." Edward nodded. "Yes, please continue," he agreed with a smile. I blinked in shock. "Aren't you mad at us?" I queried. He and Edward shook their heads in earnest. "Keep going," the former repeated. "We would like to watch you. We would like to see you two pleasure each other." I turned to Esme and rose an eyebrow. She nodded, so I indicated for her to proceed. She dipped her head between my legs once more. Carlyle and Edward stood for a minute, then sat down on the bed. They watched with keen interest as Esme ate me out. "You look so sexy while another woman is licking your pretty pussy," Carlyle murmured, kissing me lingeringly on the lips. "Thank you, I'm glad that you think so," I grinned, winking at him. Carlyle's paw. "If you were one of those people who like to see two women having sex with each other, like me for instance, then you would have greatly enjoyed the scene before me." There was nothing like watching Esme going down on my mate. Edward was gazing at them just as fixedly as I was. I could see the love and lust in his eyes as he watched Esme. I knew that I was staring at Isabella with the same fondness. I saw him turn to me out of the corner of my eye a moment later. I gave him a small smile, then chortled as he punched my shoulder lightly. I shifted my attention back to the girls, but Edward's eyes remained on me. "Yes?" I questioned when I realized that he wasn't going to look away. I turned to him once more. "What is it?" He made a face, as if debating on something, then asked, May I kiss you?" I gaped at him, not sure if I had lost my mind. What? Where did this idea come from?" I demanded, stunned stupid. "I don't know," Edward responded truthfully. "But since the girls are doing their thing, I was wondering if we could have a little action of our own. Besides, you do look rather handsome." His expression turned apologetic as he admitted this. I was thunderstruck. However, a part of me was willing to let him kiss me, which astounded me even more. Then again, it wouldn't hurt to allow him to just once. And Edward was good-looking himself. He smirked as I came to this conclusion. Oh, goodness, was I bisexual? Was Edward bisexual too? Well, it doesn't matter. I don't care, and Isabella or Esme I'm sure wouldn't mind either, I thought. Fine, I sighed, but if it makes either of us uncomfortable, we'll stop. Edward bobbed his head before he tentatively pressed his lips on mine. It didn't feel bad at all. To be honest, it actually felt quite wonderful. His lips were warm and tasted like red raspberries. It wasn't as good as kissing Isabella, but I still liked it. Edward apparently liked kissing me too because laid his hands on my waist. Isabella saw us and nudged Esme, who looked up from what she was doing. She nodded in approval, and Isabella gave me a thumbs up. I guessed that they didn't mind after all. I winked at her before kissing Edward back. I slid my arms around him and pulled him close to me. He ran his tongue across my lips, and I parted them. As my tongue glided along his, I felt Edward lay his palms on my chest. One of his fingers grazed my nipple, causing me to let out a tiny moan. "Did you like that?" he whispered. I nodded cautiously. "Take off your shirt," he ordered. My jaw dropped. "What?" I exclaimed. Edward gave me a brief kiss. I said, "Take off your shirt." Okay." I did as he commanded and laid it aside. He stared at me for a long moment. "Well, you are good looking." I grinned faintly. "Your turn. Let me see you." Edward had his jacket and t-shirt off in a second. He was slimmer than me and a little less muscular. There were wispy hairs on his chest. Not bad, though, all in all, I said to myself. We let our fingers roam over each other's pectorals. His skin was smooth over his taut muscles. I leaned forward, kissed his torso, and flicked his nipple with my tongue. Edward gave a deep-throated moan. "Did you like that?" I echoed him with a mischievous smile. "Yes, Carlyle," he breathed. "Would you like me to continue?" Edward shuddered. "Please, as you wish." I swirled my tongue around his nipple. "Fuck," he groaned. "Oh, yes," I chuckled softly, pleased by his response. Who knew that I would enjoy being with a man in this way? Sometime later, I felt Edward kiss my forehead. "Hey, my turn." I sat up, and Edward bent down to suck my right nipple. Meanwhile, Isabella's moans had become louder. I turned to see Esme fucking her with two of her fingers while nibbling her clit. As I watched, she twisted her digits inside of her pussy, which I knew that Isabella was taking delight in. Whenever I did that, it drove her insane with pleasure. "Oh, Esme, please don't stop," she half yelled. "Does that feel good, my dear? Do you like my fingers in that tight, hot, delicious cave of yours that I have been wanting?" She purred, twisting her fingers some more. "Yes, Esme, faster, harder, you fuck. Oh yes, yes, I'm going to come." "That's right, baby, let go on my fingers." Within seconds, Isabella did, and very hard too. Edward and I watched as Esme lapped up her juices. Carlyle, you have no idea how lucky you are," she stated fervently. I smirked. "Believe me, I do. Oh, God," I groaned as Edward licked my nipple again. "No talking," he growled, earning another moan from me. As he kept going, his hand slid down to my waist. He trailed kisses down to my navel, and was about to unbuckle my belt when I pulled him up and smashed my lips onto his. Then I laid him down and sucked his brownish-pink nipples once more. Afterwards, I kissed his lower abdomen before ripping off his jeans. I reached into his boxers and grabbed his cock. Edward groaned, arching his back. I jerked him for a few minutes, then pulled his boxers off. "Well, Esme," I began, eyeing his huge, long, rock-hard dick. He was an inch shorter than me. "You are truly a fortunate young lady." "Thank you," she moaned as Isabella buried her face in her pussy. "You're welcome. Edward, do you mind if I taste you?" He shook his head. "No, go ahead." I grinned before stroking his cock and taking him in my mouth. Edward threw his head back in pleasure as I swirled my tongue around the head. I bobbed my head up and down and massaged his balls. He had a very pleasing taste. "Yes," he hissed, pushing my head down further. The room was filled with moans and groans as time passed by. Suddenly, Edward's balls tightened, and with a grunt, he released his delicious seed into my mouth. I heard Esme scream as she came also. Bella's pav. I gathered up Esme's sweet juices with my tongue. She tasted so amazing that it was easy to get lost in her beautiful, tight pussy. When she had collected herself, I hovered over her and kissed her on the lips so that she could taste herself. She groaned into my mouth. Esme kissed me back, then sat up. "I guess that we're finished. I don't know any other positions," she sighed. So good, Edward," I heard Carlyle moan. I turned to see him on his knees as Edward sucked his dick. I smiled at him when our eyes met. "I know one," I announced, looking at her. "Come here, now put your right leg over my left and your left leg under my right. There we go, now do what I do." She moaned in astonishment as I humped my pussy on hers and rubbed my clit against her own. "You certainly know your stuff, Bella," she whimpered. Carlyle snickered and groaned at the same time. "You have no idea," he remarked. Esme laid a hand on my back as she started to move. Then she reached down with her other hand and circled my swollen nub her thumb. I threw my head back and moaned. I clearly wasn't the only one who knew what they was doing. "Fook, Esme, keep doing that. I love it," I panted in pleasure. Her pussy was cold, but it felt good. So fucking good. Yes, Bella, I like it too. It's so good," she breathed. Abruptly, Carlyle growled as he flew into his orgasm. After that, he took a moment to come down from his high. "You taste wonderful, Carlyle," Edward commented. "Thank you," Carlyle returned. After that, he and Edward watched as Esme and I continued to fuck each other. Liking the audience, we moved faster. I gazed at Carlyle with half-closed eyes, biting my lip and moaning to show him how much I was enjoying myself. Carlyle licked his own lips and started to jerk his cock. I massaged Esme's clit with my thumb. "Harder, Bella, faster," she implored. "Okay," I grinned, increasing my speed and pounding onto her. "Yes," Esme cried out, slamming onto me. "Bella, your kitty cat feels so good." "Oh God," So does yours. We kept humping our pussies until my stomach tightened, and with cries of ecstasy, we fell over the edge at the same time. Carlisle's POV, italics equals Carlisle's thoughts. When Isabella and Esme had recovered, I glanced at Edward. Now that they are taking a break from their performance, why don't we give them a show? I thought to him and showed what I meant through my mind. Edward nodded in hesitation. Don't worry, I'll be gentle, I promised, and he grinned in relief. I left the room and came back with some lube. I motioned for Edward to get on his knees. When he did, I spread the gel onto my index and middle fingers before smearing some on his asshole. If you want me to stop, let me know right away, do you understand? Yes, he replied out loud. I inserted my index finger into his tight ass and pumped it in and out very softly. When I added the other finger, he grimaced, but made no indication for me to stop what I was doing. Pretty soon, he started to grunt in pleasure. I noticed that Esme was biting her lip and smirked at her. Does it turn you on to see me pleasuring him, Esme? She nodded with a moan. Would you like to see me fuck him in the ass? Oh, yes, Carlisle. I bent down and planted kisses on Edward's lower back. And what about you? Would you like me to fuck you for sucking my cock so good? I asked him. He groaned. Yes, very well, then. I slid my digits out of him and lubed my cock generously. This will be painful, I admonished. You know what to tell me if you don't like it. I'm sorry for hurting you. It's all right, Edward assured me. I rubbed his back, then pressed my cock into his asshole. He winced as I slid into him at a snail's pace. When I was fully sheathed, I gave him time to adjust to me. Do you want me to stop? No, the pain will pass, he mumbled. Are you sure? Yes, Edward responded. 2 minutes later, he whispered. You can move now. Hold on, Esme. Come here. I want to lick your pussy. Esme did as he requested. Isabella crawled over to our group and squatted above her face. Lick me again, Esme. Please? She queried. Sure, sweetie, she replied. You can move now, Carlisle, Edward stated. I nodded and began to move in and out of him gently. He felt good. I placed one hand on his hip and wrapped the other around his cock. He moaned as I stroked him in time to my thrusts. You like that, Edward? He moaned in response, pulling Esme close to him and dipping his head between her thighs. I saw Esme's tongue swirling around Isabella's clit hungrily. Just watching this made me harder, and I pumped into Edward faster. Fuck, he grunted. Harder? I queried. Yes, Carlisle, please. It wasn't long before I was slamming my cock into his ass. The air was thick with the moisture of sweat, moans, cries of pleasure, oh fucks, and ooh yes. I spanked Edward as I pounded in and out of him roughly. Esme was fucking Isabella with 3 of her digits while continuing to lick her swollen nub vigorously. All of a sudden, the door was thrown open and there was a shriek. I pivoted to see Rosalie yelling and flailing her hands before covering her eyes. Emmett, who was standing next to her, gawked at us with his mouth wide open. Isabella and Esme gasped, startled, and Edward and I just stared at them. Emmett and Rosalie. Sorry, Emmett stammered before closing the door. We gaped at it for a moment, then resumed what we were doing as if nothing had happened. Fuck, Carlisle, I'm gonna come, Edward hissed a while later. So am I grunted through clenched teeth, jerking him at vampire speed. His asshole clenched around my dick, and he groaned as his cum shot onto the bed. My head fell back as I milked him for all I was worth. Isabella and Esme shouted as they crashed into their orgasms. I pulled Edward up and kissed him deeply. Did you like that, baby? I purred, nipping his earlobe. I gathered up a drop of his cum that was hanging off of the tip of his cock and sucked it off of my finger. Yes, he breathed. Would you mind if I fucked you too? Oh, course not, if that is what you want to do. I slipped out of him. Isabella, switch positions with Esme after Edward starts to fuck me. I want you to eat her out while her pussy is over your face. I'll do the same for you, I murmured as I climbed on the bed. We positioned ourselves accordingly. I got on my knees as Edward lubed his fingers and my asshole. Let me know if this makes you uncomfortable, he remarked. Don't worry, you know that I will. Gingerly, Edward slid his middle finger into my ass. I winced in pain slightly as he thrusted his finger in and out of me. It hurt more when he added a second digit, but I didn't mind the pain so much. Pain turned into pleasure as my asshole became used to the sensation of his fingers. Are you ready for me, baby? Edward inquired softly. Yes, I responded with a moan. Okay, let me know if you don't want to do it anymore. I nodded. Edward smeared some of the lube onto his cock. Then he spread my cheeks before sliding into me inch by tiny inch. My face screwed up in agony, but I shook my head when Edward asked if I wanted him to stop. Thankfully, it only took a few minutes for the pain to subside. You can do your thing now, Edward, I thought. His movements were slow and gentle. Isabella laid down underneath me, and I began to lick her clit. Her groan was muffled by Esme's pussy. I moaned as Edward started to jerk my cock. Does that feel good? Do you like how my dick feels in your ass? He grunted. Oh yes, Edward. Faster. Very well, then, he echoed me. Gripping my hip, Edward thrust it into me rapidly. I threw my head back and groaned before returning my attention to Isabella's pussy. So good, so fucking tight, Edward hissed, swatting my ass. He redoubled his clasp and pounded into me over and over. Once again, our screams of pleasure reverberated around the room. Ecstasy filled my body to the point where it was nearly overwhelming. Soon the muscles in my abdomen coiled, and I could tell that he was close to the brink too by his erratic motions. Finally, the coil in my stomach sprung loose, and I exploded. Edward came after me, followed by Isabella and Esme a second later. Bella's pav. I slumped onto the bed, panting heavily as Carlyle drank my flowing juices greedily. Esme had collapsed onto her side to prevent herself from crushing my face. Edward slid out of Carlyle and laid next to her. When my respiration had gone back to normal, Carlyle crawled up beside me. Hey there, I greeted playfully, running my fingers through his tousled hair. Hello, he murmured, kissing my forehead and wrapping an arm around me. Are you feeling okay? I snickered. Of course I am. Why wouldn't I? He held me close. Oh, I don't know. But I'm sure that you must be aching. It's been an extremely hectic afternoon. I grinned. That's true, but I'm fine. I'm not aching anywhere. Would you like me to change that for you? Sounds like a good idea. The next thing I knew, I was on my back, and Carlyle slammed into me. I heard Esme cry out in pleasure and turned to see that Edward was fucking her from behind. Carlyle buried his face in my neck. Are you ready for me to fuck you senseless, sweetheart? He whispered. I bit my lip and nodded. He nipped my pulse point. Then you better hold on tight because it's going to be a wild ride. I clutched his shoulders as he began to thrust in and out of me hard and fast. My eyes rolled into the back of my head as I moaned loudly over and over again. Doesn't that hurt her, Carlyle? Esme queried. Not one bit. The little minx likes it rough, he responded. Carlyle bent down and kissed me fiercely. I darted my tongue into his mouth, and his battled mine for dominance. He won, as usual, and he swept his tongue around my mouth in half-vampire speed. As he was doing this, he pounded into me relentlessly, hoisting one leg up to his shoulder. Yes, I yelled. My walls started to tighten around him. Carlyle noticed this, and slid out of me. Just as I had begun to complain, he yanked me off of the bed. He swooped me up in arms and started to fuck me while standing, using the wall behind me for support. It didn't take long for me to realize that he wasn't going to let me come, not until I was half out of my head with pleasure, at least. Carlyle must have conspired with Edward about this because Edward wouldn't let Esme come either. However, that was the point of fucking someone senseless. For another 3 hours, Carlyle and Edward had executed every known sex position under the damn sun on Esme and I. Most of the time, Carlyle and I kept away from Edward and Esme, but when Carlyle had fucked me doggy style on one occasion, I sucked Esme's nipples as Edward did her in the missionary position. Finally, at long last, everyone reached their orgasms and slumped onto the bed. I laid between Carlyle and Esme, my muscles screaming with exhaustion and my mind blown beyond all possible belief. Well, this has been a long, rocky day. So many ups and downs, Edward remarked. Everyone threw back their heads and roared with laughter, fervently agreeing with him because he was sure as hell right about that. Bella's pav. After that life-altering sexual experience, I knew that nothing would ever be the same for me, Carlyle, Edward, or Esme again. None of us could look at each other without remembering that special afternoon. As a result, I grew closer to Esme, as did Carlyle with Edward. And it went without saying that Esme and I grew closer with our mates, if that was possible. Rosalie was unable to look us in the eyes after that day, which I found rather amusing, but also a little disheartening. Emmett, of course, joked about the whole thing. Hey, Carlyle, Edward, I didn't know that you liked to play butt darts. How do you feel when you get the bullseye? I knew that you liked cats, Bella and Esme, but damn. I never guessed that you liked them that much. Oh, shut up, we told him, rolling our eyes and laughing. Alice and Jasper didn't seem to care about it, even though I knew that Alice had seen what happened. And I was sure that she had told Jasper about it as well. Everything stayed the same with them. However, at school, things had definitely changed. I had been so mesmerized by Alice, Esme, and Rosalie that I didn't even notice how attractive some of the girls in my classes were. Lauren Mallory was admittedly the prettiest girl in the 12th grade, with her cornsilk blonde hair and cat green eyes, but she was a bitch. Jessica Stanley, well, it was hard to come to an opinion about her. Not that she was ugly indeed, she wasn't, but like Lauren, she was also a bitch. Katie Marshall was plain looking, but was very kind and had a nice body. But Angela Weber, damn, with her long, dark hair, dark eyes, and gentle personality, I was not surprised that Ben Chaney wanted her to be his girlfriend. If she were not Reverend Weber's daughter, I would definitely consider going out with her. Angela had no idea how well her body was filled out, unless Ben told her, and she was too modest to agree with him. Besides that, I didn't know if she was into women or not, and I wasn't going to ask her. It would very likely make her uncomfortable. Charlie could tell that something else had changed about me, but astonishingly, he didn't ask questions this time. Renee also sensed that I was different in a way unknown to herself, but I didn't tell her anything except that I was happy. Thankfully, she let it drop. It was Sunday when the foursome happened. Let's skip to Friday night, when everyone but Esme goes hunting again. Since Charlie was going fishing this weekend, I decided to spend the next 2 days at Carlisle's house as usual. I called to let him know I was about to be on my way after I had gotten home from work, but he told me that he was hunting. Esme is at the mansion, however. She's alone, and I'm certain that she would like it if you could keep her company, he added smoothly, his tone full of implications. I rolled my eyes, but I couldn't help but agree with him. Oh, okay, enjoy your hunt, then. I guess that I'll see you tomorrow? I inquired. Yes, I shall see you after you wake up, Carlisle responded. That sounds like a plan. Well, just do what you have to do. I'll call you if I need anything. I love you. I love you too, sweetheart. Goodbye, goodbye. I hung up before dialing Esme's number. She answered on the first ring. Hi Bella, Esme greeted cheerfully. To what do I owe the pleasure of your call? I smiled. Would you mind if I came over? I heard that you were all by yourself. Charlie's working tonight, and I'm all alone too. Plus, there's not much to do at my house, so I'm bored. She laughing gently. Of course I don't mind, Bella. You know that this is your home as well as mine. Come and see me. I've missed you for the past few days. I missed you too, Esme. Oh, you have you? Yes, and I will show you how much later on. I look forward to that. Would you like me to fix you some dinner, by the way? After that, you can pick out a movie, if you want. I thought about it for a second. Sure, a movie would be great. I'll be there in 15 minutes, then. Bye, I declared. Alright, baby, see you soon. Click. I didn't bother packing anything. I had clothes at Carlisle's. I just grabbed my keys and left the house. Then I climbed into my truck and headed for the mansion. Esme was leaning on the Volvo when I drove into the garage. You didn't have to wait for me, I remarked as I stepped out of my vehicle. Grinning, she murmured, I chose to, anyway. She wrapped her arms around me softly and planted a kiss on my lips. Hello again, my dear. I embraced her in return. Hey, bubble butt, I whispered, squeezing it. Her ass was perfectly full and round. Quit that, Bella, Esme ordered, looking flattered and a little embarrassed. Why, I like your ass, I commented, refusing to move my hand. She swatted it playfully. Enough of that for right now. Come on inside. I know that it must freezing in here. Truthfully, it was. I followed her into the house. We had a nice chat while she prepared dinner for me and continued to talk as I ate. Once I was done my meal, we picked out a couple of movies. After that, we went upstairs to the spare bedroom on the 4th floor. That was Esme and I's hangout spot ever since that day. Carlisle and Edward used the room too, and sometimes they shared it with us. I popped in the Wedding Crashers before lying down next to Esme and snuggling into her. She held me close. I'm glad that you've come. I was beginning to feel lonely staying here all by myself, she said quietly. Well, I'm happy that I did, then. I wouldn't want you to feel that way, I mumbled. I kissed her cheek, then turned my attention back to the movie. The Wedding Crashers was hilarious. At times, I laughed so hard that I couldn't breathe, and Esme had to keep making sure that she didn't roll onto me. By 10 o'clock, the film was over. Esme left the room for a moment to speak to Edward, who called just as I was about to put on another movie. I was hot, so I took off my long-sleeved shirt and jeans, leaving me in my white cami and panties. Esme returned and stared at me. I grinned mischievously. "Do you see something you like?" I inquired in a flirtatious voice. "Indeed, I do," she replied, joining me. I turned on the movie, and she snickered when the menu appeared. "Where in the world did you buy lesbian porn?" I pressed play. "Seattle. They have a tiny shop there that sells porn DVDs." "Why, do you want to watch something else?" "No, I wasn't expecting this, is all." I threw an arm across her waist. "That's almost too bad because we won't just be watching it." Esme moaned and bit her lip. The first 10 minutes of the porno started off with the usual kissing, titty and pussy sucking. By the time one of the women was making the other cum, my own pussy was hot and wet. Esme was squeezing her thighs together to create some friction between her legs. I brought my lips to her ear. "Would you like me to help you with that?" She nodded. "Please." I motioned for her to sit up. After she did, I lifted her dark green sweater over her head. Then I reached out and massaged her nipples through her white silk bra, causing her to whimper. I reached behind her to unclasp it, then leaned forward to suck her rosy peaks. "Ah," Esme cried out softly, tangling the fingers of her right hand in my curls. Her left hand removed my cami and tweaked my nipple over and over. I moaned before gripping her ass with both of my hands. I nudged her shoulder and Esme laid back down. I hovered over her to suck her other nipple. Her hips bucked into mine. "Bella, please," she whispered. "Please what, Esme?" I questioned. "I need you, please." I trailed my nose down to the waistband of her jeans. "What would you like me to do? Do you want me to lick your pussy?" Esme arched her back. She loved it when I talked dirty to her. "Yes, Bella, please." "Okay, I will if you do the same for me." "Certainly, my dear." We moved into the 69 position. I unbuttoned her jeans and pulled the zipper down with my teeth. Then I yanked off both her pants and her thong. I spread her legs and circled my tongue around her clit. "Oh yes," she breathed, ripping off my panties and using her fingers separate my nether lips. Fuck Esme," I groaned as her tongue flicked my swollen nub. I darted my tongue in and out of her sweet pussy before replacing it my tongue with 2 of my digits minutes later, still nibbling her clit. Holy crow, my fingers were already soaking wet. Esme cried out before inserting her own into my pussy. At first, we thrusted our fingers into each other slowly, then quickened our speed as the minutes passed. Our breathing grew labored and our moans louder and more frequent as we neared our climaxes. "Esme," I panted as my stomach tightened. "I'm gonna come." So am I, baby," she hissed, drilling her fingers in and out of my pussy at vampire speed. I added a third digit, and her walls clenched around my fingers almost immediately. My vision blurred as my own orgasm ripped through me. "Foots CCKK," I yelled. "Yes," Esme hollered at the same time. After a moment, I slumped on top of her. When I had caught my breath, I rolled onto the bed. Esme pulled me up to her and kissed me deeply. I kissed her back and groaned when she rubbed her clit on mine. She smiled against my lips and ground into me once more. "Fuck me please," I begged. She laid a smooch on my jaw as she turned us over so that I was laying on my back. "With pleasure." I clutched her ass as she began to move, throwing her left leg over my right. Her soft, cool breath washed over me. "Bella, I really have missed you." "I missed you too, Esme." "Faster." Placing another kiss on my cheek, Esme straightened until she was on her knees. She lifted my right leg up and glided her pussy along mine rapidly. I moaned as I pinched my nipples. "That's it, baby," Esme purred. "Roll them between your fingers, you naughty girl." I did as she commanded, staring at her with lust. She growled lowly before pounding onto me, closing her eyes as her head fell back. Her mouth was shaped in an O. Not long after, we bellowed as we flew over the edge. Esme rode us out before crawling back up to me. Running my fingers through her hair, I whispered, "I have a surprise for you." "Oh, what is it?" Esme asked. "Close your eyes and no peeking. I'll be watching you." She turned away. I kept my eyes on her as I reached under the bed for a 10-inch strap-on that I had bought the day before. Once I had put it on, I tapped her shoulder. You can look now, baby, I murmured. When Esme looked around, her eyes darkened. Bella, she breathed. I smirked at her when she continued to gaze at my strap-on. You're thinking about me fucking you, aren't you, Esme? I inquired in a seductive voice. Yes, she whispered. Hard? She nodded. I shook my head at her in mock disapproval. Such a bad girl. Get on your knees. Esme hastened to do as I commanded. So hungry for me, I murmured. I caressed her ass before positioning myself on my own knees and sliding into her. She moaned as I grasped her hips and started to thrust into her. Within minutes, she was begging me to fuck her harder and faster. I was more than glad to oblige her. Ooh yeah, Bella, fuck, Esme shouted. My eyes widened and I almost stopped. Did Esme just say, fuck, for the very first time? I licked my lips, becoming even more aroused. I slammed into her with all of my might, causing her to scream over and over. I tugged on her shoulder. Come up here, I ordered. She straightened and I kissed her while pounding upwards into her. Esme darted her filthy fucking tongue into my mouth. I slid my hand down to her pussy and rubbed her clit as my tongue danced with hers. Oh God, oh fuck more. Please more, Bella. Yes, oh God, yes baby. I'm going to come fuck. Seconds later, she collapsed onto the bed once more. I hovered over her and thrusted my dildo in her face. My turn. But first, clean it off, you foul-mouthed slut. With a deep-throated groan, Esme sucked off her juices, peeking at me lustfully from under her eyelashes. Then she took off my strap-on before putting it on herself. The next thing I knew, she was fucking me in the missionary position. My right nipple grazed her lips before she swirled her tongue around it. I moaned continuously as she thrust it in and out of me with passion. It didn't take long for me to reach my own climax. Esme rode me out, and I drooped onto the bed, feeling exhausted and sated. Esme grinned. Somebody is ready to go to sleep, she observed. I yawned. Well, get some rest, baby. I'll just cuddle with you and watch a few movies, she remarked. That sounds nice. We dove under the covers, and I kissed her softly. Night, Esme. She kissed me back. Good night, sweet dreams. I fell asleep listening to gentle humming of the TV. Carlisle's Pav. Dawn in the forest somewhere. Who's my little bitch? Who's my little bitch? I grunted to Edward, tugging his hair as I fucked him in the ass. We had been making love for hours. Edward moaned when I stroked his cock in time to my thrusts. I am UNGHIAM, he panted. That's right, now take this dick. Yes, baby. I gripped his shoulders and pounded into him. We had to make sure that we didn't grunt and groan too loudly, or people would hear us for miles around. However, it was too late. Just as Edward and I were about to come, there was a yelp. Oh, my God, seriously? You couldn't go back home and do this? I'm going to need bleach, Alice cried. Edward and I ignored her and bellowed as we crashed into our orgasms. After I rode him out, we slid our pants on. I turned to her. Give it a rest, Alice. It wasn't as if you didn't see us. There was no reason for you to come here, I pointed out with a smirk. She crossed her arms. As a matter of fact, there was. Emmett is on his way, and you know what it would have been like if he had caught you. You're lucky I had decided to warn you, although I wish I hadn't. She looked nauseated. You should get back to the mansion. I'll take care of the hole in the ground that you two made. With a snort, Edward and I ran home. We found Esme in the spare bedroom watching television. Isabella was sleeping peacefully next to her. Good morning, love, Edward beamed, kissing Esme lingeringly. I laid down beside Isabella and placed a smooch on her temple. I see that you two had a wild night. We certainly did, Esme stated with a grin. How was your hunt? He chortled. Our hunt was good, very good. Her eyes twinkled. I'm sure. So, who and what was the prey? She knew us well. 3 deer, 2 mountain lions, and Edward, I replied. Nice. We talked until Isabella began to stir. What's going on? She asked groggily, wiping her eyes. I kissed her forehead. Sorry, sweetheart, we didn't mean to wake you up, I mumbled. She cut me off. Don't worry about it, Carlisle. It's all right. What time is it? I peered at the clock. A little after 10. Oh, I'll be right back. Human moment. Isabella climbed out of bed and stumbled out of room naked, I must add. I dashed over to her. Isabella, come back and put some clothes on. You can't go out there like this, I noted with a laugh. Her eyes widened as she glanced at herself. Oh, shit, she exclaimed. She threw on a sweater and a pair of jeans, then left again. When Isabella returned, she seemed much more alert. "Hey," she greeted, embracing me. "I missed you." "I missed you too," I whispered, holding her close. "Did you have fun last night?" "Do I really have to answer that question?" She scoffed. I inclined my head. "Yes, you do," I joked with a serious expression. Rolling her eyes, Isabella huffed. "Whatever. Yes, I had fun." "Happy?" she demanded. "Ecstatic," I replied brightly. "Did you have a good hunt?" "Oh, yes." She noticed the tone of my voice. "All right, what happened now? Were you and Edward fucking in the woods again?" She placed her hands on her hips. "We certainly were." Isabella shook her head at us. "And who caught you this time?" "Alice, but she only did so to warn us that Emmett was coming in our direction. She isn't happy with us." Understandable, but dealing with Emmett would have been twice as hard. Everyone agreed with her. Emmett would have teased our lives out, if such a thing was possible. Bella's pav. It wasn't long before I was hungry, so I went downstairs to find out what I wanted to eat for breakfast. Alice was in the kitchen, making French toast. "Hey, Bella," she sighed. "Hi Alice, you didn't have to cook for me, you know, but thanks," I remarked. She smiled at me. "You're welcome." I patted her arm. "I'm sorry that Carlisle and Edward are causing you grief. I don't know what can be done with them. I mean, I don't care that they are intimate with each other, but I wish that they wouldn't have sex in the forest." "Don't you and Jasper make love in the woods?" Fidgeting, she admitted that she did. "It's just weird and embarrassing when you see someone else doing it, that's all," she implied. I pursed my lips. "I know what you mean," I said in a quiet voice after mulling it over. Alice handed my food to me. "Well, at least you and Esme don't have sex in the woods. At least you have sex in the house and when no one is home unless Carlisle and Edward are with you." I rose an eyebrow and laughed once. "What have you been doing? Keeping tabs on Esme and I when you're out hunting? Trying to get a sneak peek of us?" I nudged her playfully. She harumphed. "Please, you wish." "Yes, I really do." I teased some more, even though I kind of meant it. "Whatever, just eat," Alice muttered, a bizarre expression crossing her face as she walked out of the kitchen. I giggled when I caught it. Yep, she has definitely been watching us. I wondered what she thought of everything. Alice's pav. If Bella thought that I had been secretly watching her and Esme, as well as Carlisle and Edward, then she was correct. But how could I not when they chose to make love? It wasn't my fault that I had visions because people decided to do things. Moreover, I loved to watch Bella and Esme have sex, deep down inside. Not that I hated to see Carlisle and Edward going at it. I enjoyed it a lot. Nevertheless, there was something about Bella and Esme that made me desire to keep watching them. It turned me on, and I found myself yearning to know what it would be like to go through that experience. Jasper knew that I fancied them. I had for the past few weeks. He didn't mind. He thought that it was cute, and often poked fun at me when he noticed me staring at Bella and Esme. I wanted to tell them, but I was too shy to, even though I knew that they wouldn't have been disgusted if I did. In fact, I knew that Bella was drawn to me, but I wasn't sure if Esme was. Neither would Carlisle and Edward. Jasper was also aware that I watched them in their private moments. But he didn't care since I wasn't attracted to either Carlisle or Edward. "There's no rush. You can let Bella and Esme know how you feel about them when you're ready, darlin'," Jasper had told me a couple of days ago. It wouldn't be long before I did. I knew it already. I had seen it, Bella's pav. Over the next several days, Alice continued to fuss about Carlisle and Edward's sexual exploits. She also whined about the noise that we made if she happened to be in the mansion while they or Esme and I were fucking. She hated it even more when Carlisle and I spent time together. Normally, situations like these would be irritating for me, but I found it funny. "Come on, Bella, I don't need or want to hear all of that moaning, groaning, and screaming. I don't need to see your ass or crotch in my face every other night, either," she complained to me on Monday evening. "Stop putting up a front, Alice. You know you want me. You know you want this," I joked with a smirk, petting my pussy. She rolled her eyes. "Bitch," she sneered. "I love you too," I returned, pecking her cheek. "And don't worry, babe. I won't forget to include you next time." Laughter echoed through the house. Alice's jaw dropped in incredulity. But you this isn't what we're talking about." I snickered. "I know, I'm just teasing you again, that's all. But you have no room to complain about us making noise when you and Jasper keep me up half the night at times too." She flipped me off before storming away. I didn't worry about it, though. She was, as I said, clearly putting up a front. By looking into her eyes, I saw that she was attracted to me. Furthermore, whenever she thought that I wasn't paying attention, I caught her gazing intently at me. I didn't understand why she hadn't spoken to me about it, but maybe she was too timid to bring up the subject, like I had been when I realized that I fancied Esme. I wasn't going to mention it, though. She would come around at her own pace. Alice's pav. That was it. I had had it. I wasn't going to be able to maintain this charade any longer. I didn't need my visions to tell me so. Bella knew, and there was no sense in hiding my feelings for her. Later that night, I had a talk with Jasper. Do you think that I should tell her? I won't if you're opposed to this, I added after pouring my soul out to him. He shrugged. You know that I don't mind or care if ya do. If you want to let her know, go ahead, darlin'. I'm with you all the way, he remarked, caressing my cheek. Then, he smirked. Just remember to have plenty of fun if anything happens. Oh, shut up. I decided to wait until Saturday to make an advance on Bella. It gave me time to find ways to reveal how attracted I was to her, or show her that I was curious about girl-on-girl intimacy, at the very least. An idea came to me on Thursday. I was getting a pair of tights out of my closet when I spotted yet another corset that I didn't want and meant to give to Bella. I already knew that it would fit her, but I wanted her to try it on anyway. Perhaps I would tell her everything while she's doing that. I could admit that it was an odd way to do so, but I was sure that it wouldn't matter to Bella. And at least we'll be alone. Everyone was going to be hunting, except for Carlisle. He had to be at the hospital. I would be at home with nothing to do. I prayed that this would work. I didn't want to look into my future, in case I saw nothing but disappointment and rejection. Bella's pav. Saturday arrived before I knew it, and I was delighted. It had been a long week, what with school and my job. I felt that I more than earned some relaxation. Carlisle and Esme weren't at home. I called his place my second home, but Alice volunteered to stay with me because she didn't need to hunt. For the greater part of the morning, we pretty much kept out of each other's way. Well, I avoided her, just in case she tried to dazzle me into playing Bella Barbie with her. As if she had read my mind, I heard Alice call, Bella, can you come to my room for a minute? I have a corset that I don't want and I would like to see if you can fit it. Damn, fuck, sighing in exasperation, I trudged downstairs. Alice grinned at me when I entered in her bedroom. No need to worry, Bella. I won't make you play the game today. Let me help you try this on, though. If you like it, then you can keep it, she remarked, brandishing a white corset. I put it on and Alice clasped it for me. Then she offered me a pair of white, thigh-high stockings. She held onto me as I pulled them up so that I wouldn't fall. Once I was completely attired, she stood behind me as I checked myself out in the mirror. You look hot, Alice squealed. Thanks, I beamed. It's nice. I think that I will take it off your hands. Go on, I won't need it. It was quiet as I readjusted my stocking. Alice was frowning and pursing her lips. When I straightened, she closed her eyes and nodded to herself before taking a deep breath. My eyebrows drew together in concern. What's wrong? Another vision? I queried, looking in the mirror again. She shook her head. No, I had a question, and I didn't know how to ask it at first, she replied. Oh, well, what's the question? You know that you don't need to be scared to ask me anything. I know. She paused for a moment. Bella, there is something that I would really like to know. What is it like to be intimate with another woman? She inquired. And to my complete surprise, Alice laid her hand on my waist and slid it down to my upper thigh. I was so taken aback by her forwardness that I couldn't respond. It's different, but not in a terrible way. Honestly, it's very pleasurable. It's hard to explain, though. I can show you better than I can tell you, I implied after a long moment, swallowing thickly. I turned to face her. How long? She knew what I meant without my elaboration. About 4 weeks now. Jasper knows, and he's okay with it. I know that you're attracted to me as well. I can tell by the way you look at me sometimes. Me too. It was oblivious, you know. I watched you looking at me whenever you thought I wasn't paying attention. You could have just said something to me before. Yes, I know, but I was too shy to, that's all. I apologize. Don't worry about it. I understand why you felt that way. Alice rested her other hand on my hip. Bella, you have no idea of how much I want you, she hissed. Then why don't you tell me? I breathed. Her lips were on mine as soon as the words left my mouth. I wrapped my arms around her and pulled her into me. The kiss was raw and desperate. Alice swept her tongue across my lips. I parted them and groaned when her tongue darted into my mouth, exploring it hungrily. She tasted wonderful, but I couldn't tell you what she tasted like. It was a flavor for which there was no name. Pretty soon, her tongue retreated, and she allowed me explore her mouth. Then Alice moved away so that I could breathe. "So, what do you think?" I inquired after a minute. Smiling, Alice responded, "I like it. Very much." I grunted, nodding. "Now, there is a question I have for you." "Yes, what is it?" she asked. I peered at her shrewdly. "Do you like watching Esme and I fuck?" Alice moaned. Yes, I really do." I quirked an eyebrow. "Is that so?" She nodded, biting her lip. I tutted, shaking my head. "You're a dirty girl, watching someone without their permission. But I don't mind an audience. Tell me, Alice, out of curiosity, does watching us make you horny?" "Yes, Bella," she murmured. I took her hands. "Does it make you want to touch us?" "Touch me?" I questioned seductively, guiding them upwards. "Fuck yes." Alice was practically panting now. "Have you been wanting to feel my breasts?" "Bella, stop teasing me like this." Chuckling at her eagerness, I held her wrists in one hand and pulled down my corset slowly with the other. After revealing my tits, I laid her hands on them. Her fingers grazed my nipples as she caressed them. I smiled. "You like them, don't you, baby?" I whimpered. Alice's eyes darkened. "Yes, Bella, yes. I love them so much," she groaned, continuing to knead them. I kissed her on the lips before moving her hands downwards, keeping my own eyes on hers, our breathing shallow. "Tell me the truth. You liked my pussy in your face, didn't you?" "You have no idea." I leaned close to her. "And do you have any idea of how many times I have fantasized about you touching me and fucking me with those pretty fingers of yours?" Alice nodded. With another grin, I slipped her hand into my panties. Alice gasped as I massaged it against my drenched folds. "Do you feel how wet you make me? How wet I am for you?" Her eyes turned completely black. "Bella," she purred. "You have been wanting to touch my pussy for a long time, haven't you?" Alice growled lowly. "Yes," she whispered, rubbing her fingers along my slit vigorously. My head fell back when they brushed against my clit. "Ooh yeah," I moaned. Peppering smooches on the top of my breasts, Alice mumbled, "Bella, show me what it's like to be fucked by a woman. Better yet, I want you to fuck me. I want you. I need you." I removed her hand from my pussy and kissed her deeply. Alice backed up until she was sitting on the edge of her bed. I perched on the spot next to her before taking off her shirt and unclasping her pale blue bra. Then I removed her jeans, but left her thong on. I gaped at her tits in admiration. They were small, but full with dark brown nipples. "I like these," I declared. Just as I was about to lay her down, however, Esme opened the door. "Oh, I apologize," she remarked, blinking in shock as she took in the scene before her. "Do you want me to leave?" she queried, but I could tell that she wanted to stay. "Well, this is Alice's room. It's up to her," I pointed out. Alice shrugged. "You don't have to go, Esme. Stay, you can watch or join us too, if you like," she stated. Looking even more astonished, Esme bobbed her head. "I think that I will join. Help Bella show you the ropes. That is, if you don't mind." "Not at all. Come on, wait a minute, I'll be right back." Esme left, then returned a second later with a box and closed the door. After she placed the box on the floor, Alice and I shifted over to the middle of the bed. Esme sat down on her left. I tilted Alice's chin. "Now, where were we?" I purred. She tangled her fingers in my hair. "I remember," she uttered, smashing her lips onto mine. Then she drew back so that I can get some air, and Esme kissed her too. I watched in fascination as their lips move in sync with each other's. After a few minutes, Esme laid her down. "You have lovely breasts," she observed. She smiled at me. "Bella, let's show Alice how delicious her breasts look to us." "Good idea," I implied, kissing her. I massaged Alice's left tit before clamping my mouth around her nipple. "Ah," Alice cried as I swirled my tongue around it. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Esme suckling her other nipple with relish. "Your tits are delicious," I breathed as she whimpered in pleasure over and over again. My hand glided down her stomach, where it touched Esme's at the base of it. I nodded, indicating for her to take the lead. She slid her hands under her thong, both her and Alice moaning as she rubbed her clit. "She is soaking wet for us," Esme announced. "You ought to feel it." I did so and grinned. "She definitely is," I murmured. "Why don't we clean up the juices that she spilled?" "Oh yes," she hissed. Why don't you go first? I'll take care of her. She made Alice sit up. Don't mind if I do. I crawled over to the bottom of the bed and yanked off Alice's thong. I kissed my way up her legs and thighs, deliberately ignoring her pussy. Bella, please, Alice begged, squirming. I smirked. Please always helps, I noted. Spreading her legs wider, I dipped my head between them and ran my tongue along her folds. She tasted heavenly. Her groan was muffled when I finally circled it around her clit. I peered upwards to see Alice sucking Esme's breast. She was also massaging her through her booty shorts. I slipped 2 fingers into her pussy while continuing to lick her swollen, throbbing nub. Oh God, don't stop, Alice half shouted. Relax, babe, I don't plan to, I whispered before returning my attention to her filthy, dripping cunt. I thrusted my digits into it harder and faster. She especially liked it when I twisted my fingers inside of her. Alice and Esme moaned repeatedly as the time went by. Within 3 minutes, the latter's booty shorts were discarded. Alice fucked Esme with her fingers as the latter's pussy hovered over her mouth. It wasn't long before Alice's walls clenched around my digits. However, before she could orgasm, I removed them from her slick hole. She groaned at the loss. Bella, why did fuck? She whispered as I humped my pussy against hers. I bit my lip. Do you like my pussy on yours, Alice? I panted with a moan. Yeah, she gasped. Pretty soon, Alice was begging me to go faster. I happily obliged, stimulating her clit with my thumb. The air was thick with so goods, yes, and loud cries. Finally, we were all teetering on the edge. Oh God, Esme hollered. Foots CCK, Alice yelled. I'm so close, I growled through clenched teeth. And we bellowed in pleasure simultaneously as we flew over the canyon. When we had recovered, I switched positions with Esme so that she could lick Alice's pussy and fuck her. This gave Alice the chance to taste me, which I enjoyed immensely. The way she used her tongue and fingers on my nipples and cunt nearly drove me bonkers. After our second climaxes, Esme took a 9-inch strap-on out the box that she had brought with her. She put it on before laying down. Come here, Alice, she ordered gently. Knowing what she desired, Alice climbed on top of her and slid the dildo into her pussy with a moan. I got on my knees behind her and tweaked her nipples as she bounced up and down. That's it, Alice, ride me like the slut you are, Esme stated, holding her hips as she thrusted upwards. Alice slammed onto her in response. Esme pinched her clit and she threw her head up and cried out in pleasure over and over again. Once she had came, it was my turn, and then Esme's. By the time we were finished, I was sore, but I didn't mind. Who would after a good fuck? Carlisle's paw. Late that evening, when I returned to the house, I found Isabella sitting in the family room with Alice and Esme. They were in the middle of a lively conversation, talking animatedly and laughing. But when I approached them, they turned to me. Hey, Isabella greeted with a smile. Hi there, I returned. What were you ladies just talking about? Nothing particularly important. I was actually just about to good night to them. I'm really tired. Esme hugged her before standing up. Well, good night, Bella. I have a few things that I need to do anyway. I will see you tomorrow everyone, she declared. We waved at her, and she left the house. I lifted Isabella into my arms. Come on, sweetheart, let's get you into bed, I murmured. I carried her upstairs to our room. Alice followed us. She was still chattering with her. When we had reached our destination, Isabella changed her clothes before diving under the covers. Alice sat next to her on the edge of the mattress. Good night, Bella, she whispered, leaning forward to embrace her. Isabella wrapped her arms around her, and to my surprise, she gave Alice a kiss on the lips. Not a long, drawn-out kiss, however. Just a quick one. After that, she grinned at her. Good night, Alice, she purred. They hugged each other one more time, and Alice flitted out of the room, bidding me good night as well. When she was gone, I turned to Isabella. Sweetheart, did you just kiss Alice on the mouth? I inquired in interest and amusement. She smirked. Yes, she responded. Why, is there something wrong with that? Of course not, my dear. I was only shocked, is all. You must have finally hit it off with her. Peering at me with the smile still plastered on her face, her eyes danced and twinkled. That look told me everything that I needed to know. I threw back my head and chuckled. Isabella joined me in my laughter. Well, it is obvious that you both had a good time, I remarked, still chuckling. Yes, we certainly did. Esme had fun too. I blinked. completely thrown off by that simple statement. Esme, all of you were together this afternoon? Shaking my head, I continued to laugh until I had settled down. I really have no idea of what to say about that. Other than that, I can see now why all of you were so happy. Isabella shrugged. You don't have to say anything. Kissing her for a long moment, I said, then perhaps I won't. Alice's paw. While listening to Carlisle and Bella talk upstairs, I couldn't help but giggle. I would be lying if I said that I disagreed with anything that Bella said. She, Esme, and I did enjoy ourselves quite a bit. More than a bit, actually. Sighing contentedly, I put my arms behind my head as I stared at the ceiling, recounting what happened earlier that day. It was no doubt that it had been one of the best days of my life. Just thinking about it made me feel horny again. I had finally been able to show Bella and Esme how I felt about them. Not just by indicating how much I was physically attracted to them, but how I was also attracted to them because of their personalities. We had spent the whole evening talking about it. Jasper came in the room while I was thinking about all of this. Hey, darlin', I missed ya, he declared. I grinned at him. Hey, baby, I exclaimed, getting up and running into his arms, I missed you too. We kissed each other fervently. I moved away after several seconds, but he leaned close to me and sniffed. You smell like Bella and Esme, he noted. But he wasn't upset about it. He was just pointing this out. I could only smile at him, not knowing how to comment or respond to that. Abruptly, a glint flashed in his eyes. You told him, didn't ya? He demanded with a grin. I pursed my lips to keep from laughing. Yes, I did, I replied. He cocked his head to the side. And, what happened when ya did? Jabbing him lightly, I asked, isn't it obvious? Sniffing me again, a wicked smile lit up his features. I suppose it is. Well, did y'all like it? Was it good? I nodded shyly. Chortling, he placed another kiss on my lips. I'm glad that you had fun, darlin'. So, I guess that I shouldn't be surprised if I catch ya talkin' rides with either of them. Nope, not at all, I giggled. You really must have liked it if ya said it like that. I sure did, baby. I sure did. Jasper's paw. Talkin' to Alice about her encounter with Bella and Esme set me thinkin'. It also had me askin' myself questions. Questions that I wasn't able to answer, or think of an answer to. A few that kept repeating themselves were, when you were attracted to somebody who was the same gender as you, what was it like? Did it seem any different from being attracted to someone of the opposite sex? What exactly drew one man to another man, or a woman to another woman? I asked Alice the first and second questions. She thought it over, then replied a minute later. I don't know how it is like exactly, but it isn't any different than being attracted to another man. Physical appearances are one thing, but personalities are another, more important factor. If someone is not a good person, you would not want to be with them, regardless of whether they are good looking or not. It doesn't matter if they are a man or a woman. It pertains to everybody. I reflected on that and inclined my head. Yes, that's very true. Well, what draws you to Bella and Esme? Or what do ya think draws you to them? Their personalities and their looks. I think that they are both very beautiful and sexy, but they are very kind and considerate too. What about loud? I'm pretty sure that they must be, even though they never show it. She slapped me playfully. Oh, shut up, Jasper. You are just as bad as Emmett sometimes. I huffed. I ain't nothing like that boy. What do you think Carlisle sees in Edward? Or vice versa, what do you think draws them to each other? Alice shrugged. I don't know. Why don't you go and ask them? Or one of them? Maybe I will, but I don't know if I wanna. It would probably make him feel uncomfortable. Why? Because they would probably feel offended by my questions. With an understanding look, she embraced me. I don't believe that they will. You are just asking them a few questions because you are positively curious about this. That's all. I'm certain that they won't mind. Sighing deeply, I nodded. Probably right. I know that Carlisle wouldn't be offended. He would be understanding enough to see that I'm curious. I know that he is more likely to give me honest answers. But I don't know about Edward. You know that he's very private about his personal life, and, if I asked him those questions, it would likely make him very upset. I'll ask Carlisle, but not tonight. If he's not busy tomorrow, I'll ask him then. Carlisle's paw. I spent the next afternoon at my house alone. In the morning, from 8 to noon, I had to do my shift at the hospital. After that, I was free to go home. The mansion was empty when I arrived. Isabella was shopping with Alice. Emmett and Rosalie, I assumed, were at their place. Edward and Esme were definitely at their own. The former had told me so. I did not know where Jasper was. He had went hunting the day before, so I knew that he could not be thirsty. Nevertheless, I was sure that he was fine, wherever he happened to be. I went upstairs to shower and change my clothes. Once I had put my laundry in the washing machine, I finished up my paperwork in my office. It did not take long for me to complete it, and within 15 minutes, I was putting it away. None of the others had returned by then, but this was not unexpected. Isabella and Alice would be away for goodness knew how long, and there was no telling when everybody else would come either. Because I did not have any more work to do, I tried to find ways to entertain myself. I glanced at the clock and realized that one of my favorite TV shows would be coming on in a few minutes. I headed to the living room to watch it. Thankfully, there was a new episode instead of a rerun. There had not been one for 2 weeks. I hugely enjoyed the show. There were several parts that caught my interest especially. Time went by quickly, and before I knew it, the show was over. I was just getting ready to browse the TV guide when I heard the front door open. A split second later, Jasper entered the room. "Hi Carlisle," he said. "Hello, Jasper. Where have you been?" I queried. "In the forest talkin', a little walk. Are ya busy?" I shook my head. "No, just watching television." "Why do you ask? Do you need anything?" "No, but I want to talk to ya if that's all right," he stated. "Of course, Jasper. You know that I always have time for you." I gestured to the armchair. "Why don't you have a seat and relax yourself?" Jasper did so and threw one leg over the other. "So, how are ya?" I smiled a little. I cannot say that I could complain. "What about you?" "Fine, fine." When he did not say anything else after a few seconds, I took the floor. "Is there anything wrong, Jasper? Anything that is bothering you?" "No, I only want to ask you some questions about you and Edward," he implied. I rose an eyebrow in curiosity. "What about Edward and I?" He narrowed his eyes, deep in thought. "I only wanted to know, Carlisle, what is it about him that you like? What draws you to him?" I mulled his questions over. "Well, other than the fact that he's handsome, he is a remarkable person. Almost like Isabella is, but not quite. He is a gentleman. He is adorable, intelligent, and thoughtful. He is also fun to be around." He bobbed his head in understanding. "Oh, is bein' with him the same as bein' with Bella?" "No, there is a difference. Isabella is my mate, whereas Edward is not, so I do not feel the same way about her as I do about him." "I see what ya mean. I know that makin' love is just as different." I chuckled once. "Yes, with Isabella, it is much more pleasurable, but that is, obviously, because she is my soulmate." "What about Edward? Does it feel good with him too?" "Oh, yes, it feels very good." He nodded, but I could tell that there was more that he wanted to ask me. I leaned forward. "Was there anything else that you wanted to know?" I questioned. Jasper was hesitant, but I sent encouragement to him. "I just want to ask if is sex different with a man than it is with a woman to you?" "Kind of, but not very. Everything still works almost the same way." "Oh, what do you mean by that, though?" It's difficult to explain. I could show you better than I could tell you." His eyes widened in shock, and I mentally beat myself black and blue. I had not intended to say that at all. It took a few minutes for him to recover from his astonishment. "You would show me?" I said no. "I know that you are not into men, so I wouldn't even think about it," I responded truthfully. "But if I were, would ya?" he inquired. I considered that. "Perhaps I really don't know. You are very handsome yourself. You are also as much of a gentleman as Edward is. If you were into men, maybe I would have." He shot me a tiny grin. No, I don't think that I'm into men. But I am curious to know how it is different." I gazed levelly at him with mirth. "That would mean that I would have to show you." He shrugged. "Okay, I guess. I don't believe that it would kill me to see." "You know what I am implying, Jasper." Jasper frowned at me, however, and it was apparent that he did not. But he figured out what I meant a couple seconds later. He did not seem to be disgusted or offended by this, though, which took me aback. "Oh, I see, but I don't know. I still want to know. Maybe you could show me, just for this once? I won't ask ya to do it again after today." I pursed my lips. "If you are certain?" "Yes, I'm sure." By the look on his face, I could tell that he was, so I stood. "All right, then, follow me." Jasper's paw. I didn't know why I wanted Carlisle to show me how sex with a guy was different so much. But the idea of it was intriguing. Or maybe Carlisle himself just made it seem that way. Whatever the reason was, I wanted him to. Carlisle's paw. I led Jasper upstairs to the spare room. After closing the door, we sat on the bed. So, what would you like me to show you first? I asked. He took a deep breath. You can just start with the basic move. You know kissin', he remarked. Okay, move a little closer to me. Jasper did as I commanded, and I laid my hand on his smooth cheek. Ready? He nodded. I moved forward and captured his lips. They were very soft, and I could not help but moan at the taste. They was delicious. I believed that he tasted of apricots. Yes, that was what it was. Jasper, I breathed, kissing his cheeks and forehead while running my fingers through his hair. Do you know how handsome and sexy that you are to me? Shivering, Jasper hissed. No, am I really? Oh, yes, I responded earnestly. I have often daydreamed about you, wondering what your lips taste like. Wanting to rub my hands all over your muscular chest and abs. Do you like what I'm doing so far? Am I making you feel uncomfortable? No, not I like it, he admitted after a brief pause. I never thought that I would, though. I laughed gently. Neither did I, when I first kissed Edward. I kissed him again, and this time, he moved his lips with mine. He also pulled me into him. The kiss soon became more heated as we ran our hands over each other's backs. When I slid my tongue into his mouth, it caught him off guard. It did not bother him, though, because his tongue danced with mine seconds later. Then he allowed me to explore his mouth. I did so with relish, enjoying his sweet taste. After that, I permitted him to do the same with me. As his tongue roved through my mouth, I reached down to squeeze his ass. Jasper groaned, breaking this kiss. I smirked at him. Did you like that, baby? I purred. Yes, he whispered in a fervent voice. Grinning mischievously, I tightened my grip on his bottom. He hissed, Fuck, Carlisle, such a tease, and don't I know it? I nuzzled his throat. Would you like to take off your clothes? Biting his lip, Jasper nodded. He went to remove his t-shirt, but I stopped him. No, let me do it, I requested. He lifted his arms, and I pulled his top off. Once it was thrown aside, Jasper yanked mine off. I snickered. Eager, are we? Taking our time, we explored each other's buff chests and muscular arms, abs, and backs. I gazed at him, and he smiled before kissing me deeply. I lowered my hands to the waistband of his jeans. I shot him a questioning look and he nodded. I kissed him one more time before unbuckling his belt. I unfastened his pants and took them off along with his boxers. His erect cock sprung free as I did. It was huge, but not much bigger than my own. I took it in my hand, feeling the weight of it. Looking it over. Jasper rose a sexy eyebrow. What do ya think? He inquired. I winked at him. I will show you what I think, I remarked. I stuck my tongue out and licked the head vigorously. When I took him in my mouth, he threw his head back and moaned. I bobbed up and down, swirling my tongue around him and massaging his balls. He tasted so delicious. On top of everything else, he was sending out waves of pleasure, causing my dick to grow hard. Oh yes, Carlisle, please don't stop. It feels too good, fuck ung, Jasper groaned in amazement. Minutes later, I began to suck him faster. He grabbed my head with both hands and thrust it upwards into my mouth. I deep-throated him, wanting every inch of his pulsating cock in my mouth. Yes, so good, fuck, Carlisle, fuck, I'm gonna come. He panted through clenched teeth. Seconds later, he did, arching into my mouth. I swallowed everything that he had to offer me. When he had collected himself, Jasper smirked at me. Now, it's her turn, he announced. He unbuttoned and unzipped my slacks. They pulled around my ankles. Afterwards, he slid down my boxers before staring at my dick in awe. I quirked an eyebrow. What do you think? I echoed him. He had to laugh. I will show you what I think, he stated, mimicking me. Jasper took my cock in his hands and jerked it. I whimpered in pleasure, then groaned as his mouth closed around it. For someone who had never sucked a cock before, Jasper was pretty good at it. I moaned over and over as his tongue glided along my shaft and head. God, Jasper, I hissed minutes later. Abruptly, my stomach clenched and my balls tightened. Jasper noticed this, and with a flick of his tongue, I was swept into a mind-blowing orgasm. UNNNGH. I roared as he drank my cum greedily. Coming down from my high, I kissed him. When he kissed me back, he ground his cock onto mine, causing us both to moan. Are you ready for me to fuck you in the ass, Jasper? Or do you want to go first? I questioned. Could I? I don't want to feel any pain just yet, he added. I caressed his cheek. The pain will not be as bad as you think, I assured him. Besides, I am not finished my demonstration. He thought this over and nodded. Okay, you can go first, then. But I'll want to do you afterwards. Sure, turn around and get on your knees. Jasper obeyed. I opened a drawer and pulled out a tube of lube. I smeared some on my fingers, then spread his cheeks open and lubed his asshole. I am not going to fuck you just yet. I am only going to use my fingers to stretch your muscles. Just relax. Alright, very slowly, I slid my index finger into his asshole. Jasper hissed at the pain, but indicated for me to continue. I pumped my digit in and out of him gently, adding the second one a few moments later. It did not take long for him to get used to the feeling of my fingers thrusting into his ass. He began to moan, rocking back and forth to create more friction. I leaned down to kiss his lower back. You like that? I purred. Yeah, he whimpered. When he was stretched enough, I removed my fingers from his clenching hole. I applied some lube on my cock before positioning myself at his rear entrance. This will hurt more, but as I told you before, just relax and keep calm. The pain does not last long. Are you ready? I queried. I am if you are, he replied with some hesitation. I sent him reassurance before pressing myself into him very slowly. As I fully sheathed myself, I could feel a wave of pain. I winced and became still so that I wouldn't cause either of us any more discomfort. When the pain had gone away, Jasper turned to me and nodded. I held his hips with one hand before thrusting into him softly, making the both of us groan. With my other hand, I jerked his cock. Oh God, Jasper breathed. Fuck, you feel so good, I grunted. After a while, he begged me to go faster. I obeyed with relish. The waves of pleasure that Jasper was throwing off nearly caused me to blow my load. They were that overwhelming. Tell me what you think of me, I ordered as I slammed into him repeatedly. He tightened his grip on the blanket. Carlisle, darlin' I think that oh yeah, a remarkable person and fuck too sexy fair your own good, he panted. Do you like my dick pounding into you, baby? I grunted, emphasizing each word with a thrust. You have no idea, my stomach muscles clenched once more. From the waves that Jasper were sending me, I could tell that he was also close to the brink. I thrusted into him one last time and we both fell over the edge. Fuck, I bellowed as Jasper cried out. When we had collected ourselves, I slid out of him. Jasper climbed off of the bed and kissed me passionately. Now, it's my turn, he murmured. Get on the bed, darlin'. I did as he said while he lubed his cock. Then he threw the tube aside and spread open my cheeks. I moaned loudly as he entered me. His dick felt so good in my ass. Damn, Carlisle, now I understand why Edward likes to fuck ya so much, he remarked as stroked my cock vigorously. Our moans and labored breathing filled the room as he thrusted in and out of me. As he did so, Jasper gave even more indications of how pleasurable he found my greedy asshole. He pulled me up and kissed me while he pounded upwards into me. I kissed him back with fervor. Afterwards, he pushed me back onto my knees and started to slam into me. Carlisle, darlin', he groaned after a while, his movements becoming erratic. I want ya to come with me, and I want ya to say my name as loud as you can. Yes, baby, I replied. My asshole clenched around him, and before I knew it, I crashed into my orgasm. Jasper, I growled as my seed spurted onto the bed. Carlisle, he shouted. He rode us out and we collapsed. We laid on the bed for a while, then got dressed. So, what do you think? Do you understand what I meant now? I inquired. Yeah, he smiled, and I like it. Perhaps it will be something that I'll do often. Perhaps, I agreed. Jasper turned to leave the room, but I stopped him. Wait, I declared. I wrapped my arms around him and kissed him for a long moment. Then I drew back and said, you know that you are always welcome to spend time with me. Perhaps Edward will like it if you joined us too. He nodded. Sure, well, I'm going to my room now. See ya, Carlisle. Alright, Jasper, have fun. Jasper's paw. For the next few hours, I reminisced over my get-together with Carlisle. It was such a wonderful, pleasurable experience that I knew that I would do it again soon. My God, that body. That mouth, that ass. I would fuck him every day if I could manage it. I was so deep into my thoughts that I didn't notice that Alice was home until she came into the room. She smirked at me wickedly. She saw what had happened. So, did you like it? She demanded. I chortled. Hell yeah, I stated. I slid my arms around her as she cuddled into me. It certainly looked like it, she remarked. We shared another laugh. After straightening up the spare room, I left to go on a short hunt. I needed one due to my activities with Jasper earlier. I was pleased that he had enjoyed our time together. The last thing that I wanted was to make him feel uncomfortable, or perhaps even afraid. That could have easily happened, and I was relieved that it didn't. I ran out of the house and into the forest. As I did, I found myself remembering the smoothness of his lips and the firmness of his muscular body underneath my hands. I also thought how pleasurable his mouth was, how good it felt to be inside him, and vice versa. Grinning, I let my vampire instincts take dominance for a while. I almost immediately picked up the scent of a few bears. I quickly located them, and once I had satiated my thirst, I buried them near a tree. I took a shower once I was home and waited for Isabella to return from the mall with Alice. She eventually did 2 hours later, looking tired as she entered our room. Nevertheless, she smiled when she saw me. "Hey, babe," she greeted, kissing me on the lips after putting her bags down. "Hi, sweetheart, did you enjoy your shopping trip?" I inquired as she laid in my arms. She nodded. "For once, I did," she replied with a mischievous twinkle in her eyes. I narrowed my own, smiling a little. "Oh, boy, what were you and Alice up to this time? You of all people hate shopping." "Well," she began, drawing out the word. "Let's just say that we managed to have some fun while trying on clothes in the dressing room." I threw my head back and roared with laughter. "How in the hell did you find a way to pull that off?" I demanded in amusement after settling down. Isabella gave a casual shrug. "Easy. Alice simply took me to a store where the people in charge of the dressing rooms were doing anything other than their job. She promised that she would find a reason to like shopping with her, and she did. We just had to make sure that we weren't loud. You are both so bad. I ought to punish you for that, and suggest to Jasper that he should do the same with Alice." I chortled. "Good call," I heard Jasper remark, and Alice giggled. Isabella did also when I told her what he said, then refocused her attention on me. "Speaking of being bad, Carlisle, what's this I hear from Alice about you and Jasper doing the same?" Had the circumstances been different, I knew she would have been pissed at me. She wasn't, of course. She was gazing at me with interest. I knew that Alice wasn't either, having heard her conversation with Jasper. I smiled once more and revealed everything without going into detail. She laughed when I was finished. "Well, I can see that you two enjoyed yourselves," she observed. "That we did." I also told him that he could spend time with me again if he ever wished to, but I would understand if he doesn't want to. I will leave that up to him. She nodded. "That's more than fair. What about Edward? Do you think he'll mind?" "I doubt it, and hopefully he won't, but we'll find out if he will later. More than likely, he would probably be intrigued or amused, or both." "Yeah, maybe," Isabella agreed with a chuckle, placing her head on my shoulder. I wrapped an arm around her and kissed her temple. Whether Edward would mind about my get-together with Jasper wouldn't be known until the next evening. He and Esme had gone to their own house the day before, wanting to have some alone time. Isabella and I had just finished greeting them when Edward's mouth fell in surprise. He turned to Jasper, who happened to be nearby, then stared at me again before laughing loudly, giving us a thumbs up, and walking away. Esme looked bewildered and curious as she trailed after him. I faced him, Jasper and Isabella. "Apparently not," I remarked. We chortled heartily. Edward teased me and Jasper about it in private over the next few hours. He didn't ask us how everything went. There was no need to, since he had already read our thoughts. In addition to being amused, I could tell that he was captivated and turned on by what he saw. Jasper just smirked when he made fun of us. I would roll my eyes while doing the same or playfully shove his head. Everything went on as they normally did over the next several days. Until just recently, it had been anything but normal for us. Sadly, we had been going through an unusually troubling time during the last several weeks. Victoria, a nomadic vampire that we had encountered last year, had been feeding off of people in the woods surrounding Forks. The reason why she did so was to prepare for her attack against Isabella and Edward. The latter had killed her mate James after he tried to do the same to her, resulting in her desiring to get revenge. She wanted to murder Isabella because she knew that it would destroy Edward. During this time, Victoria brutally mutilated and slaughtered our kitten Coco as well. She also tacked a threatening note into her fur, warning Isabella that she and Edward were next. We kept an eye on her and Charlie to keep them safe. Thankfully, Victoria left them alone. She didn't try to attack the rest of us either. She would have been outnumbered. All of us were preoccupied, so much so that we were fortunate to spend even a little bit of time together. It was a relief when I could be in Isabella's or Edward's arms and forget about everything for the moment. We made each one count, knowing that it was possible that all may not end well. Victoria eventually attempted to do as she planned last Sunday. Isabella and I were having a lunch date in Seattle when Alice warned us that she was coming for her. I was able to get us out of the city before she could attack us there. To keep Isabella safe, I told her to run to safety while I held Victoria off. She protested at first, but quickly gave in after I pleaded for her to do as I asked. After a brief discussion in which I informed Victoria that Isabella was my mate, and not Edward's, we engaged in a fight to the death. She very nearly won it, and would have if Isabella hadn't distracted her. The latter had cut the palm of her hand when she saw that Victoria was about to kill me. It caught her attention long enough to allow me to escape her clutches. I dismembered her soon after and set her remains on fire. Even though life quickly returned to the way it had been before, we still mourned for Coco in our own ways. Isabella missed her most of all. She had been such a sweet, cuddly kitten. Her death was too sudden, unwarranted, and unfair. I promised to get a new kitten for Isabella, but she told me not to do that. She didn't want to replace her so soon, and understanding and respecting that, I agreed. But I digress. As mentioned twice before, just about everything went on as usual the day after Edward found out about Jasper and I. I worked hard at my job, hunted when I needed to, and hung out with my family. The only difference was that I spent my alone times with Jasper as well as Isabella and Edward. We did not have sex again right away. However, we hunted alone a couple of times, and found a place to sit and talk at other times. We shared passionate kisses every so often, too. Jasper understood that I only wanted him to be comfortable. He respected that and did the same for me. When he was ready to be intimate with me again, he knew that all he'd have to do is tell me. Jasper's paw. The days that passed following my afternoon with Carlisle were very good. As usual, I was often with Alice either at home or our other house and relaxing in our bedroom. I would play video games with Edward and Emmett and practice songs on my electric guitar too. I was also getting to know Carlisle on a more personal level and vice versa. Our alone times were spent having deep conversations and kissing every time we had the chance. He invited me to hunt with him twice as well, and I gladly joined him. He had been right about what he told me on Sunday. Since he wasn't my mate, being with him was different than being with Alice. Nevertheless, I enjoyed his company almost as much as I loved hers. As always, he was kind, perceptive, and understanding. He could also be very funny and made me laugh often. He was a gentleman, too, and never pressured me to do anything I didn't want to do. I appreciated that he let things move at a pace that felt comfortable for me. Edward still teased me and Carlisle occasionally, and Alice and Bella did too. He also must have told Esme what happened between us. A huge grin would appear on her face whenever she saw Carlisle near me. She wouldn't say anything, but she didn't need to. I could tell that she thought we looked cute together from her emotions. Emmett and Rosalie hadn't found out about us yet, though. I would have known if they had because they, especially Emmett, would have been teasing me and Carlisle too. Still, I knew that it was only a matter of time before they learned about us, and I was right. It happened on Thursday evening around 6 o'clock. Carlisle and I were in the living room by ourselves. No one else was home. They were either working, out on a date, or at their own houses. We had been talking for a bit, and that soon turned into us holding each other close and making out. We were so into it that we didn't notice the front door opening or someone coming up the stairs. But the next thing we knew, we heard Rosalie gasping behind us. "Oh, my God," she declared, her shock permeating the room. Well, what do we have here?" Emmett inquired loudly with amusement. My face grew hot. I knew that if I were able to blush, I would be doing so right then. From Carlisle's expression, I could tell that he would have been also. Emmett sniggered at the looks on our faces. "Listen, guys, I'll let you know now that I don't mind you two doing whatever," he began. "And neither do I," Rosalie added. "But next time, please get a room. Either that, or tell us that you want privacy and not to come to the house for a while." "We'll understand," he remarked earnestly. On that note, they went to their own room, chortling as they did. In spite of that, however, I could feel their acceptance of us. It wasn't long before I desired to be intimate with Carlisle again. However, Since our cousins from Denali were visiting us for the next 2 weeks, I didn't know when we'd be able to have some time alone. They had come on Saturday. Not only that, but he had to work almost every day. He also needed time with Bella and the others. I spoke to him about this in private when I had the chance. He grinned softly after I finished explaining everything and caressed my cheek. I am not certain of when we can either, baby, but I will inform you as soon as I do, he promised. Okay, darling, I'll let you know if I can find a good time for the both of us, too, I said, kissing his fingers. Very well. Luckily, an opportunity for us came on the Monday evening before our cousin's departure. We had planned to go on an all-night hunting trip a few days prior, so the house would be empty. Carlisle and I didn't really need to hunt for the entire evening. I wasn't that thirsty, and Carlisle had already gone for a brief trip last Friday. We still joined everybody, of course, but returned home after midnight. Only Alice and Edward knew why. They didn't mind. They just smiled and quietly told us to have fun before we left. Oh, shut up, I hissed as Carlisle rolled his eyes, making them chuckle. Then we waved to everyone else and ghosted away. When we were home, I turned to him. I'm gonna go and have a quick shower, darling. I'll be in the spare room afterwards. All right, baby, I'll meet you there once I am done taking mine, he stated. I nodded and pecked him on the lips before heading to my bathroom. Carlisle was already in the spare room when I went there minutes later. Like me, he only had a towel wrapped around his waist. The light from the moon was shining on him through the window. I couldn't help but stare. How was it possible for him to look even more sexier than he already was? Bella was one very lucky lady. He beamed at me. Hello, again, he greeted in a low voice. I smiled back. Hey, handsome, I returned. I closed the door and walked over to him. Then we shared a deep kiss, holding each other close. I've missed you, Jasper. Same here, Carlisle. It's been a while. Wanting to be in charge this time around, I gently backed him into the wall. I pressed my lips onto his after that. When I slipped my tongue into his mouth seconds later, his battled mine for dominance. I eventually won and removed his towel before laying him on the bed. He went to take mine off, but I stopped him. No, darling, I'm gonna take care of ya tonight, I murmured. He nodded and placed his hands on my shoulders instead. Grinning once more, I began kissing him all over his neck, collarbone, and chest. As I did, I admired how he shone in the moonlight for the second time that evening. Carlisle hummed and moaned, especially when I licked his nipples. I did too, my cock hardening as I felt the sensations I was giving him. His pleasure heightened when I took him in my mouth shortly afterwards. He threw his head back with another groan, fisting my hair as I bobbed up and down. Fuck, Jasper, more, he breathed. Rubbing his thighs, I moved faster and swirled my tongue around his cock. He arched upwards, tightening his hold on me. I continued to suck him for a while, kissing his shaft occasionally. Carlisle's moans and grunts echoed through the room, making me even more aroused. Pretty soon, the sounds and feelings of his pleasure increased. I began to stroke myself. The desire to be inside of him was driving me crazy. I need to fuck him so bad. It wasn't long before we were close to the edge. I wasn't ready to come yet, though, and neither was he. Still, he groaned at the loss of my mouth when got up. I chuckled at this and kissed him. Don't worry, I'm not finished with you yet, I whispered. I took the lube out of the side table drawer and sat on the bed again. I pulled off my towel, then opened Carlisle's legs and bent them. He gazed at me with want as I lubed both my cock and his asshole. After that, I put the tube away. Are ya ready for me, darling? I purred, hovering over him. There wasn't a need for me to ask that. I could easily feel his impatience. He still nodded, though, his eyes darkening from light brown to pitch black. I opened his cheeks and entered him carefully. We shared a moan as I began to thrust in and out of him. Carlisle laid his hands my back, and I slid my arms underneath him with another kiss. I went slow at first, just talking my time with him. The only noises that could be heard were our soft groans and the squeaking bed. Both his and my pleasure swirled around us, making us harder than we already were. After a while, I began to crave more. He just felt too good. I hitched his legs up to my chest, then quickened the pace while thrusting deep inside him. Carlisle threw back his head with a moan, and I growled quietly as I felt another wave of pleasure from him. It continued like this until I straightened up and flipped him onto his knees. Then I slammed into him repeatedly, grasping his hips firmly. Carlisle groaned loudly over and over as he clutched the one of the pillows. "Fuck so good, ung. Harder, baby, please," he half yelled. Smirking, I tightened my grip on him while giving him what he begged for. He eventually started to meet my thrusts with his, desiring more pleasure. We shared another moan as I placed one of my hands on his shoulder. The bed thumped into wall as it rocked underneath us. Pretty soon, we were close to the edge again. Our movements became erratic as I reached down to stroke his cock. My moans turned into grunts while his turned into growls. The next thing I knew, we were crashing into our orgasms. I shouted as I milked him for all I was worth. Carlisle roared at the same time, his seed coat in the blanket. Then we rode each other out before collapsing onto the bed. "Oh, God, that was so good," he panted. He ran his fingers through my hair. After that, he smiled. "You know, you're amazing at being dominant. No wonder Alice yells and screams so much when you two have sex." It sure was, and shut up, I agreed with laugh. I bent over to kiss his cheek. 15 minutes passed before Carlisle and I got up. Then we air-freshened the room and changed the covers. Neither of us wanted anyone to be asking questions when they returned to the house. Once the room was taken care of, we kissed each other lingeringly. "It was good to spend time with ya again, Carlisle. I enjoyed myself," I whispered. "So did I, Jasper. Immensely," he purred. We chuckled once more, and, after one last kiss, we left the room. Edward's pav. Earlier, when Carlisle and Jasper had left to return home, I could not help but shake my head and laugh to myself. They really had no idea of how adorable they looked together. Not as much as they did when they were with their mates, of course, but still cute. I continued to think about them as I went back to hunting. From what I could see, even without using my ability, their relationship was progressing well. They got along excellently. I often saw them talking and laughing when they were alone. They respected each other, too, and did not push their boundaries. Moreover, Jasper understood that they could not spend too much time together. Then again, he would. He also needed time with Alice. I would admit that learning about their encounter greatly shocked me at first. However, it did not bother me, nor had I been jealous. I would not have been in any case. Carlisle was not my true other half. Nevertheless, I was amused and impressed once the astonishment had worn off. That was why I gave them a thumbs up. I was relieved for Jasper's sake that he enjoyed himself also. Carlisle had done a wonderful job in making sure that he was at ease before doing anything. Seeing them make love in their thoughts turned me on as well. I already knew how good Carlisle was, so it was no surprise that Jasper took pleasure in their activities. The latter was just as skilled too. He had the former yelling and moan quite a lot. A part of me wondered what being intimate with Jasper would be like for me personally. Either that, or he could join Carlisle and I when we were spending time with each other. Carlisle had invited him to, but he hadn't made a decision yet. He hadn't been thinking about it either. I wouldn't push him, though. It was best to wait until he was both ready and comfortable with the idea of it. Plus, I did not want to approach him with our cousins here. But if or when the time ever came, I would know. I only had to be patient and wait. Carlisle's pav. Our cousins from Denali left to return home on the Saturday after my evening with Jasper. Their visit had been a joyous one. All of us had had a great time. In addition to our hunting trips, we went shopping and to the movies. When we were home, we played games and acted out TV shows. Isabella, in particular, did exceptionally well in the roles she played. I had laughed quite a lot. She was beginning to not be as shy or reserved as she once was. My cousins also enjoyed getting to know her personally. Even though Laurent had met her the year before, he didn't actually know much about her either. They knew some things from what Alice, Edward, and the others told them, of course. Esme had shown them a picture of her as well. However, as Carmen had said to Isabella after being introduced to her, the photo hadn't done her justice. They all agreed that she was even more beautiful in person. Each of them thought that Isabella was kind, thoughtful, and gentle. They also said that pretty intelligent, talented at playing music, and could be quite funny when the situation called for it. They left on a cheerful note overall and told her that they looked forward to seeing her again. I was pleased that they took to her so well, but I wasn't surprised. It was hard not to like her, plus she was my soulmate. They knew that anyone I was bound to wouldn't be horrible. After the visit, everything went on as it always did at home. Spring had already begun, and it was rainier than usual. I advised Isabella to be careful when driving. People were getting into accidents because of the slippery roads. I had to work late several evenings due to this, and it was a very trying time for me. I found myself feeling mentally exhausted more often than not. Isabella was understanding and was there for me whenever I desired her presence. Edward and Jasper knew how I felt too from my thoughts and emotions and would also comfort me. They all gave me my space if I needed it, however, and I appreciated them for that. Fortunately, everything soon returned to normal again in Forks. Everybody was more aware of the situation and learned to be more careful. This was a relief to me, and I felt happier than ever. My high spirits were likely the reason why I was unusually playful with the three of them. I was also cheeky at times, much to their amusement. Edward and Jasper warned me a few times with good-natured smiles that they would punish me if I kept it up. Which, of course, I did. I liked the idea of them doing that. "That's it, darlin', gonna get it, mark my words," Jasper stated one evening after I had been particularly mouthy to him. "You will pay for that. Just wait," Edward remarked the following day. I just responded to their admonitions with a saucy smirk, upsetting them even more. Edward shook his head slowly after one such occasion. As I said, "Carlisle, wait. Just you wait." Jasper's pav, "That Carlisle has been gettin' way out of hand lately," I said to Edward with a grin late one afternoon. We were sittin' on tree stumps in the forest, just havin' finished huntin'. He smiled too. "Yes, I don't really mind it, of course. He's pretty funny when he's being sassy," he murmured. "Yeah, I love it when he is myself." "I know." He leaned back in his seat. "He still needs to be taught a lesson, however." I snorted. "Damn right, he does. He's only goin' to keep pushin' our buttons otherwise." He chuckled. "Well, you and I both know that he's doing that because he wants us to punish him." "No doubt, he has been gettin' sassy with the both of us. Maybe we both oughta." Edward's eyes widened, and I could feel his shock mixin' with my own. I hadn't meant to say that. It slipped out without me thinkin'. It took a moment for our amazement to wear away. Then he looked thoughtful. I could also tell he liked the idea of it. I myself found it intriguing. He rose an eyebrow. "You wouldn't mind doing that?" he asked in a whisper. After pondering over his question for a bit, I shook my head. "No, I suppose I wouldn't. But if you're not comfortable with that, I understand. I did just say that out of nowhere," I pointed out. "Yes, and it doesn't make me uncomfortable. You just caught me off guard. I wouldn't mind doing it as long as you are fine with it. After all, you have never been around me before when sex was involved." "Well, not on purpose, that is." He was referring to a time when we were in Alaska. I accidentally came across him and Esme once. To say it was awkward would have been an understatement. "Yeah, that's true, but I'm all right with it. You would know if I wasn't. I wouldn't lie and pretend I was, either." "Of course not. As you said, I would know if you were. Besides that, I wouldn't want you to do anything that made you feel uncomfortable." "I know. If it bothers ya at any point, though, just tell me." "All right, you do the same too, if you feel otherwise." "Don't worry, I won't even have to tell ya." Edward laughed. "I know." He was quiet for a while, then nodded with a sly grin. "Well, since you are okay with doing this, I have a few ideas." And on that note, he sat on the stump next to mine, and we began to come up with a plan. Carlisle's pav. 2 days later, April 8th. It was Saturday, and a strangely quiet one at that. Isabella was spending the day with Charlie, and the others were out and about. Edward and Jasper were the only ones here at home with me. However, neither of them had spoken to me, other than to say hello earlier. That in itself was odd. When one or the other was alone with me, we would spend a good deal of time together. Then again, they were never with me at the same time in that way. Perhaps they were wondering who ought to go first. The other would wait until they were done to approach me next. Having reached this conclusion, I proceeded to read a medical journal online. I had just finished checking my emails when there was a knock on my door. "Come in," I announced. Edward opened it. "Hi, Carlisle," he greeted pleasantly. I smiled at him. "Hello again. Are you all right? You and Jasper have been rather quiet this morning," I noted. "Yes, we are both fine, don't worry." "Good, good. Nothing is wrong with anything else, I hope?" He pursed his lips. "Actually, something is the matter. Can you come up to the spare room, please?" he queried. "I don't know, can I?" He narrowed his eyes, feigning annoyance. "For the 1 millionth time, Carlisle, Stop getting smart. Just come up, please. I snickered. Very well, I will be there in a few seconds. After turning my laptop off, I went upstairs accordingly. When I entered the spare room, I was surprised to see that not only was Edward there, but Jasper was too. An electric tilt table that had been in my office was also in the room, next to the bed. I frowned in confusion, not understanding what was going on. Not yet, anyhow. Shut the door, please, Carlyle, Edward requested in a low voice. Once I did, he and Jasper stood to circle me. I quirked an eyebrow as I watched them. The latter spoke first. We have a bone to pick with ya, darlin', he drawled. Yes, we do, Edward agreed. We have noticed that you have been rather saucy and insolent with us lately. And, frankly, we're gettin' tired of it, Jasper declared. I snorted in amusement. I could argue the point. You know that you love how saucy and insolent I have been. You are only pretending to be tired of it, I remarked, my voice dripping with irony. They mock growled in irritation. Whether we do or not is irrelevant. Your impertinent behavior has been going on for too long, Edward snapped. We've had it, and about to be punished, Jasper added. By the both of us, they concluded at the same time. A growl of my own rumbled in my chest. Even though a part of me was taken aback, the idea of them punishing me together was arousing. I could see now that they had both planned this already. Edward stepped over to me with a devilish smirk. I can see you like the thought of that, baby. You want us to, don't you? He whispered. You know you deserve it, don't you, darlin'? Jasper asked next, approaching me as well. I swallowed thickly. Yes, I breathed. Good, they purred. Edward leaned forward and kissed me deeply. Then Jasper cupped my chin before doing the same. I moaned as I returned the kisses with hunger. Jasper nuzzled my throat afterwards while unfastening my pants. Edward pecked me on the cheek, unbuttoning my shirt as he did. I considered resisting them just for the fun of it, but the latter eyed me sternly. Don't you dare, you have been causing us enough trouble, he murmured. What? Jasper inquired. Edward chuckled. He was thinking of making things hard for us, he explained. Oh, was he now? All the more reason to discipline him. He'll never learn if we don't. Certainly not. The next thing I knew, my clothes and boxers were literally ripped off. Then they none too roughly yanked me over to the tilt table and ordered me to lay down. Make me, I hissed, deciding to actually play around this time. So, they made me, but not without difficulty. They also bound my wrists with a rope and tied it to the bar on the table's rear. I growled a second time, but only because I was enjoying how dominant they were. They removed their own clothes once they were finished and stood over me. The anticipation, arousal, and excitement we were feeling surged through the room. Before we start, I will let you know the terms of your punishment. You are to do as we say at all times. You will call us both, Master. You will not be allowed to come until we are ready for you to. And you are not allowed to break any of your restraints, Edward stated. Disobey us, and your punishment will be worse. You've been naughty for too long as it is, and we're not gonna have any more of our nonsense. Do ya understand us? Jasper inquired. I chose not to respond. He tutted and jerked me in vampire speed while Edward pinched one of my nipples. My head fell back as I cried out in pleasure. Answer me, bitch, he snarled. I nodded, my dick hardening even more than it already was, and that was saying something. Yes, Master, I understand, I panted. Good, and that's another rule. You are to answer every question we ask ya. Ya hear me? Yes, Master Jasper. Wonderful. Edward ran his fingers through my hair. Are you ready for us? Yes, Master. They smiled as their eyes turned as black as coal. Excellent, he whispered, and with that, they kissed me again. Then Edward moved down to swirl his tongue around the nipple he pinched while Jasper licked the other. I gasped, wishing that I could hold them close. I understood now how Isabella felt when she and I had role-played as a doctor and patient back in December. She had been late to her therapy appointment for a second time, which led to me punishing her for it. I not so playfully told her that I would the session before that, though she wasn't intentionally late for that one. Nevertheless, she chose not to heed it to mess with me, subsequently resulting in said punishment. My thoughts were interrupted then as Jasper took my cock in his hand once more. He rubbed it slowly and teasingly while continuing to lick my nipple, smearing the pre-cum around the head. Edward chuckled when I groaned and reached down to massage my balls. The former laughed quietly as well and kissed my shoulder. Are ya enjoyin' this, darlin'? He asked. Oh God, yes, master, I breathed. Would you like more, baby? The latter queried next. Yes, Master Edward, please, he smirked. Well, guess what? Too bad. You will wait. I pouted, but he gave my nipple another, rougher pinch. You are being punished, remember? You cannot have what you want unless we allow you to. Do you understand? He growled. Ah, yes, master, I hope so. A long time seemed to go by before they sped things up. I moaned repeatedly, especially when they eventually stopped jerking my cock and balls and started to suck them. After that, they slowed back down for a while, relishing in the torture they were giving me. Finally, I couldn't take any more. Please, I begged, masters, please oh, fuck. Jasper had given my dick a hard squeeze and was now shooting me a half glare. No talkin' unless we speak to ya or ask a question. But, masters, please. What did I say, you impertinent cock whore? Tell me. I repeated his command. Exactly, he remarked in approval. They went on with their torture, gradually doing as I wished minutes later. I began to draw close to the edge soon after that, my moans turning into grunts. However, before I reached my orgasm, they stopped. Jasper rolled me onto my side, then temporarily loosened the rope so that he could pull me down to the edge of the table. Edward handed him the lube and shoved his cock in my face. Suck it, baby, he purred. Yes, master, I said before obeying him. He threw his head back and groaned. At the same time, Jasper was smearing lube onto my asshole. Then he coated the inside of it before entering me with a grunt. I moaned loudly as he gripped my waist and pounded me with passion. The room echoed with our voices, which steadily rose in octave as the pleasure rolling through it heightened. Jasper's thrusts quickly grew rougher, and Edward was soon gripping my hair to fuck my mouth open. A while later, I was rolled onto my stomach before they switched places. At one point, Jasper laid underneath me to suck my cock while I sucked his. They also took turns fucking me. Edward would go first, then Jasper went next, and so on. Their savage thrusts practically had me crying in pleasure. Still, no matter how close I came to my release, they would change their pace before I could. I begged and pleaded for them to let me, but they would just slap my ass and remind me not to speak. To their credit, they didn't allow themselves to come either. I realized that they wanted to at the same time I did. He's starting to learn his lesson, Edward. I can feel it, Jasper declared after a half hour. Yes, I know he is, he panted. Do you think we should let him come now? Soon, but there is something I want to do first. Abruptly, Edward slid out of me. Jasper got up, and I whined lowly at the loss of their cock and mouth. I didn't want them to stop. The former rolled me back over and tilted the table up until it was nearly vertical. After that, he made Jasper stand in front of me. What I would like, if it doesn't make you uncomfortable, of course, Edward murmured in his ear while holding him close, is to watch as you keep sucking his cock while I fuck you. You can do me after that and watch as I do the same. How does that sound? It must have sounded good to Jasper. He moaned quietly and bit his lip before turning to kiss him passionately. Edward groaned too as he deepened it. The sight of them was so erotic that I nearly came right then and there. After breaking the kiss, Jasper leaned over to take me in his mouth again. All of us groaned as Edward lubed both his asshole and his own member. Then he clutched his hips before sliding into him. Fuck, Jasper gasped. Edward chuckled, thrusting in and out of him slowly. You like that, baby? Yes, darlin'. No wonder Carlisle likes fucking ya so much. I winked at him, confirming this. He smiled, and I can definitely see why he likes to also. You feel so good. So do you. Jasper resumed what he was doing after that, and Edward continued to fuck him. If watching them had almost caused me to blow my load before, I was damn near ready to explode now. In addition to that, the sensations that Jasper was giving off were threatening to make that happen. It took everything in me to keep my approaching orgasm at bay. By the time Jasper was in the middle of his turn, it was clear that none of us would last long. Edward's ass must have really felt good because he would not stop growling. Edward himself was screaming in pleasure underneath him. In fact, Jasper made him yell so much that he could only give me a handjob. I was nearly at my peak when Edward motioned for him to stop. He pulled him next to me, then wrapped his hand around all three of our cocks. We shared a moan as he jerked them vigorously. Have you learned your lesson entirely, Carlisle? Are you ready to behave? He hissed. Oh, yes, Master Edward. I will be good, I responded in a breathy voice. Are ya goin' to Fuick Edward? Yes. Keep gettin' smart with us? Jasper prodded next. No, Master Jasper, ya promise. Yes, Master. Very good. Are ya ready to come now? Yes, please, Master. Edward smiled again. Then beg us to let you, and we will happily oblige you. I groaned with longing. Please, Masters Edward and Jasper, please allow me to come. I will behave from now on, I swear. Just please. They beamed at me. As you wish, Edward Said. And with that, he jerked us harder. Jasper and I cried out before thrusting into his hand. This made our cocks slide against his, which caused him to moan a second time. He squeezed his hand tighter and rubbed his on ours. Then they leaned up, and we all shared a kiss, our tongues hungrily gliding along each other's. Seconds later, we crashed into our orgasms with roars so loud that they nearly shattered the windows. Our seeds coated our members, as well as Edward's hand and part of the floor. The room reverberated with our yells before eventually growing quiet. Edward and Jasper had just slumped onto me when giggles from other side of the door caught our attention. We pivoted as we smelled the scents of our mates. Have they been watching and listening to us this whole time? Edward inquired in disbelief and shock. He quickly untied me from table. More giggles erupted, answering his question. We chortled as well. We had to laugh ourselves. Those lovely women, we wouldn't know what we'd do without them. Furthermore, I undoubtedly knew that all of us had given them a sight worth seeing. The end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to drop your reviews and new story ideas.